Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel again, and in today's video we are going to be seeing something so amazing. If you are using Zoho Bigin, that means you want something simple and something not overly complicated. You just need something to track your deals, you need something to track your contacts, something for simple automations and simple follow-up, and that is why you are using Zoho Bigin. And in today's course, we are going to be taking you through every step or every feature you can find in Zoho Bigin. So this is a very long course and I want you to follow it through and through. You can rewind, you can go to the particular section you need, you can also check for whatever features you need, and you can also follow this step by step. And I would advise that as you are watching this course, you should also go into your Zoho Bigin account and try to replicate these things for your business. Remember that learning does not only come with you watching or with you watching all of this course, it also comes by you doing these particular steps or you doing all of these features for your business in your own Zoho Bigin account. So by the end of this course, I want to assure you that you are going to feel a lot more confidence with using Zoho Bigin. And also, if you have anything or if you have any challenge, if you have any questions, you can leave your comments below and we are going to reply you. And also, do not forget to subscribe to this channel because we are going to be posting more educational content like this and we do not want you to miss it. Also, like this video and share to everyone who you think is going to need this video, and let's get into it. So to get started, all you need to do is go to the Zoho Bigin website, and as you can see, I am currently in begin.com, and this is the official Zoho Bigin website. And all you need to do is to click on Access Begin if you have your account already. But if you do not have an account, it is going to ask you to sign up. And when you click on sign up, it should take you to the page where you put in your emails, you put in your info, your company info, and you just sign up. And also we have different pricing plan you might want to check out before using Zoho Bigin. So Zoho Bigin is quite cheap, and especially um uh since it's like a mini CRM, it is quite cheaper than Zoho CRM. And as you can see, we have the free plan, we have the express plan, and we have the premier. We also have the Begin 360, and you can also check all of the features that can be done with each of this plan. So after picking a plan for whichever one you want to use, you want to click on Access Begin, and please remember that you should check the feature to make sure that it is fitting for whatever you want to use Begin for. So for instance, as you can see, in the free plan we can only create one pipeline, while in the express plan we can create 10 pipelines up to 3, and we can create 5 pipelines at the premier up to 5, and in the Begin 360 we can create 15 pipelines. So just check all of this and see whichever one you feel is going to work for you. Then you just click on Access Begin. So when you click on Access Begin, it should take you to your um Begin account if you have your account already. But if you do not, it should take you to the page where you put in your email and your details to sign up. So once you have signed up and you get into Begin, you will be prompted to put in your organization. You'll be prompted to put in your organization details like your company name, your industry, and your everything. So when you fill those in, Zoho Begin can then personalize your workspace. So when you get into Zoho Begin, the first place you'll be getting into is the pipeline that you have in Zoho Begin. And Zoho Begin is actually very, very pipeline centric. They focus mainly on the pipelines that you have. And also I really love Zoho Begin because it is so easy to use. I know Zoho CRM can be quite hard, especially if you're a newbie. It is hard for you to navigate Zoho CRM because it is quite intensive and it has a bit of a learning curve. But Zoho Begin just works so good with beginners because it is very easy to use. You know where to find everything, and it does not have too much complications. It does not have too much settings or too much things to do. So now that we are in Zoho Begin, let's explain what each of this menu represents. So on the left side, you are going to see the navigation panel where we have the major modules of Zoho Begin. So first of all, we have the pipeline, and we have the contact, and we have the company, we have the product, and we have the activities, and then the dashboard. And this is your main menu. So the pipeline is the one that is controlling the all of the pipelines that we have, and you can be able to see all of the deals we also have in Zoho Begin. And the contact is the place where we are going to find all of the contacts we currently have in Zoho Begin. Then company is the place where we see all of the complaints we have in Zoho Begin with the contacts integrated already, so we can see the companies that we have, and we can also see what contacts are in those particular companies. If you have products in your organization, it is also best to bring them into Zoho Begin so you can be able to track your deals with your products also. So you can add a product or you can import a file if you want. And in activities, you can see all of the activities that you have. We have the calendar where it is going to show you all of the tasks that you have for each day, and you can check for the different days to check what tasks you have. You can check the tasks that you have also here. When you click on task, it's going to list out all of the tasks that you have, the you can see all of the tags that you have. You can see the open tags, and you can see the tags that you have in the next 7 days, or you can see today's tags or tomorrow's tags, depending on the view that you use. And if you go to events also, you can see the different events that you currently have in Zoho Begin. So you can schedule an event, or you can create a meeting, and everything will be added in as events. And also we have calls. We can also integrate the call. We can set up phone calling, or you can just log a call manually in Zoho Begin. And we also have the last menu, which is the dashboard. In the dashboard, you can see all of the different dashboards that you have, and you can see all of the components. You can also add components if you want. On the top menu here, as you can see, we have this plus button, and the plus button allows us to be able to add in a deal. It allows us to be able to add a contact, company, product, tax, and all of this. So you can easily add a record from here instead of clicking any of this menu. You can also see your approvals here, and approvals just allows you to be able to see all of the forms that need approval. And you can also see your signals here, where you can see all of the notification, the system reminders, whether it is someone opening your email, your system notification, whatever it is, you can see all of those in here. And also we have the settings here button, where you can be able to do multiple settings, like creating custom field, like creating form, like creating automation, and all of this can be done in the settings place. We also have this part where you can see the name of your organization. You can also see your user ID, and you can see the subscription that you have. Currently I have Zoho 1, and that is why you can see it is showing up as Zoho 1 subscription. So before we do anything in Zoho Begin, it is very important that we set up Zoho Begin to fit our business. So one thing you should do is to go to your settings jar button. Then you click on organization, and when you click on organization, you want to make sure that you fill in all of this information as best as you can, because this is going to affect a lot of things in Zoho Begin. For instance, we want to add in the currency that your company is using. You want to add in the address, because all of this will be added in the email, the footer part of the email. So you want to make sure that you are putting the correct information. So you can add in whatever currency you are using. You can add in the state and the country if you want. Then when you are done, you click on save, and when you click on save, your organization setting has been updated. You can also see the currency here, where you can add in multiple currencies if you want, and you can also see the payments place, where you can add in a payment, um where you can add in a payment gateway, maybe PayPal or Stripe or whatever you are using. We also have the domain, where you can add in a custom domain, which you'll be doing in a minute. And also, when you are done with the organization settings, you also want to add in users. If you have any users that you want to bring in into Zoho Begin, you can do that by adding a new user here. So if you are not a solo user, or if you want to invite your team, Zoho Begin is going to allow you to be able to add multiple users, and you can also decide what they can see and what they cannot see. Okay, so for us to add a user, all we need to do is to click on new user, and the new user is going to take us to my Zoho 1 page, and that is because I'm using a Zoho 1 subscription, and I need to be able to add in a user from Zoho 1. So that means all of the users I want to use are going to be added to this Zoho 1 dashboard, because I have multiple apps, and I should be able to get the different users I want in those multiple apps from the Zoho One dashboard. So that means any user I want to add to Zoho Booking should be added to my Zoho One dashboard first. So you can choose whatever user you want to add if you have multiple user, or you can create new user if you want. I do not have the license to create a new user, but it is just going to allow you to create a new user by submitting their name and also submitting the email. And Zoho Begin is going to send a notification to the person, and the person will be able to create an account in Zoho Begin, and they are going to be added to your organization account. So when they come in into Zoho Begin, they will be added in as a user. But that users are just people that are working on your team if you are not working alone. But we have the next one, which is profile, and profile just allows you to be able to control what a user can do. We have the admin profile, which is the highest profile, the highest ranking, and we have the standard profile. And you can click on the edit button here to see what the administrator can do. And as you can see, they can do almost everything except for the payment link. And for the payment link, the admin do not have access to the payment link. And also they can create, they can edit, they can do all of these things. They can view contacts, they can edit, they can delete. And as you can see, all of these advanced features also can be done by the admins. We also have the standard profile, which is a profile different from the admin. And as you can see, we have what they can do and what they cannot do. As you can see, standard cannot manage same they cannot manage same pipeline, and you can also decide to remove whatever other things you do not want them to be able to edit. So you can say for the standard profile, you do not want them to be able to edit the pipeline records or do anything to the pipeline record. Or you can say for the pipeline record, they can only create and view, but they cannot edit and they cannot delete. So you can do all of this for all of this permission, and when you are done, you click on save. And if you want to create a new profile, all you need to do is just to click on create new profile, and it's going to ask you for the name of the profile, and you can decide to clone from whoever you want to clone from. You can say you want to clone from standard, and you can name this. So let's say we want to create a profile for sales rep. So let's name this sales rep. Then that means we are going to be creating a profile that is only going to be for sales rep. And when you click on save, it is going to save that, and you can then be able to edit all of this permission. Remember that profile is different from users in such a way that if you are bringing a user in, you will have to decide to give them one of this profile. So that means you are giving them profile to allow them to be able to get permission to do the things you want them to do. So if you are bringing in a user, you can bring them as an administrator, or you can bring them as a standard user, and that is going to help you to manage whatever permission that they have. So if you are bringing in a sales rep, we want them to be able to view and create and also edit and delete pipeline records because they are sales rep. And we can decide that we want them to view and contact, do everything for contact, do everything for complaints, for products, for activities, for notes, for files. But we can say that for dashboards, we only want them to be able to view the dashboard. We do not want them to manage the dashboard. We can also say that we do not want the sales rep to create automation, or we do not want them to create form. We also do not want them to import or export our data because we are trying to safeguard our data. We can also say, yeah, they need to send out emails, so that can be done. So for emails, you can say that you do not want them to send mass email, but you want them to send individual email. Or you can say that they can use templates but they cannot send mass email, or they cannot do email integration. So you can decide to restrict their permission for sales rep, and when you are done with all of this permission, just click on save, and that is going to save the permission as a new one. So you can also add in a description if you want. And for roles is different from user and profile, because roles just help you to define the hierarchy that is going on in your business, like who is reporting to who. And this just allows you to be able to see a visual representation of how the hierarchy in your business works. So for instance, we have the CEO, we have the manager, and we can say that we want to create a new role, and we want to name that um sales rep also. And we can say we want the sales rep to be reporting to the manager. So the manager is reporting to the CEO, while the sales rep is reporting to the manager. So you can create a comprehensive hierarchy in your business, and this is also going to help you to know who is reporting to who. And if you want to set up automations, it is also going to help with that. So you can add in a description if you want, and you can decide that you want your user in this role to see other people's data, or you can say that you only want them to see their own data. So if they are sales rep and you do not want them to be able to control other sales rep records, you can decide that you do not want them to see other sales rep records. So you can decide to toggle this off. So that means if sales rep A is in Zoho Begin, they will not be able to see the records that are for sales rep B. So you have to take note of that. When you are done, you click on save, and when you click on save, as you can see, the sales rep is under the manager. And also for the CEO, you can decide to add this button, the plus button in front of the CEO, and we can say something like we want to add in the production manager, and we want the production manager to report to the CEO, and we want the user also for the production manager to see each other's data. So we can click on save, and as you can see, the production manager is directly under the CEO. So that means the production manager is reporting to the CEO. So you can do this for all of the roles you currently have in your organization, and that is for users, profile, and role. The next amazing thing you want to look at is custom fields. How to create custom fields. So you can create custom field for the contact, for the company, and for the product. Also create pipeline fields, which are for the deals, and for the modules also we can decide to edit the module if we want. So for instance, if you are not using contact, if you are using something like students, or you are using something like courses, or you are using something like patients, you can change contact to all of this name if you want. And you can change the contact, and you can also change you can change the singular, you can also change the plural form. And when you're done, you click on save. And to create a new custom field, all you need to do is to click on customize field over here, and it's going to take you to this page where you can see all of the fields that you currently have, and you can see all your unused field also. And you can decide to drag in your unused field and just drag them here, and it's going to be added here from the unused field. So you can also create a new field if you want, and we have different type of fields you can create. So we can say that for this we want to create a pick list field. You can say something like, do you have a CRM? A pick list just allow them to be able to select options. So we can have different options where we ask them a question that they have to pick different options in their answers, and we can allow this to be a single select, or we can allow it to be a multi select. So a multi select just allows them to be able to pick multiple options, while single select allows them to only pick one option. So we are asking them, do they have a CRM? And it can either be a yes or it can be a no. So we can type in yes and no for the option. And since it is a single select, that means they can pick any of this option. We can also decide to add in an option in bulk, or you can type in your own option, and you can add in another option if you want. And if you want to remove this, just click on the red button to remove that. You can also set a default value, so that if any contact is coming in, we can decide to set a default value to yes, or we can decide to set the default value to no or not sure. So you can also decide to show your pick list in ascending order, and you can click on save and create new. And save and create new is just going to allow you to save this and create a new page to create a new pick list. So when you are done, you just click on save and create new. And when you click on save and create new, we can then create a new custom field. So the next one, we want to say we want to create a text, and we can ask them questions like, where do they live? Or we can ask questions like, what do they want, or what do they need help with? We can ask them simple questions like, what are they having challenges with, and they can type whatever they need. And we have this where we can add in a multi-line, which is a regular multi-line, which they can be able to put up to 2000 characters. And we also have the multi-line, which is the large one, where they can put up to 32,000 characters. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, so for the multi-line, they can be able to type in whatever they need, and that is questions like, what do they need help with? We can ask questions like, what are the challenges they are facing? You can ask whatever question you want to ask. and that is for text. And for numerical, we have the number field, and while we have the number field, we can add the long number field also. We also have the decimal field where you can ask for their GPA, you can ask for anything that has to do with decimal, and we have percentage where you can ask them percentage questions like how good are you with your CRM. You can ask them in percentage how good they are with their CRM, and you can also add in an auto number. An auto number is just going to allow you to be able to add a kind of ID. Let me limit ID. So if a contact is coming in into the CRM, we can add a auto number or maybe an ID to the contact, and we can add in a prefix, we can add in a suffix. So for the prefix, we can say we can put in your 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 code, and you can say something like CRM. So let's say the prefix is going to be CRM and the starting number is going to be 1. So you can also add in a suffix, and the suffix will be the one that is after, and we can name it something like CRM again. So let's say this is just an example. This does not make any sense actually, but I'm just using it as an example. So we can say that the prefix is CRM and the starting number is 1 and the suffix is 1. So as you can see the preview here, if any contacts come in, they will be named CRM1 CRM or CRM2 CRM. So we can do that. You can also update the existing contacts if you existing records if you want, but I do not want that, so I'm just going to click on cancel. And that is the last one for the auto number. So the next one we want to check in is the lookup field. And for the lookup field, we can create a field where we can be able to check the different modules that we have in Zoho Begin. So for instance, we can look up deals in the pipeline, or we can look up a contact, or we can look up products. So let's say we want to connect some products to a particular contact, or we want to connect some products to a company to a particular contact. We can do that. So we can name this another we can name this, instead of having the company name like we do have, we can say maybe associate company, or we can say associate or maybe we can say the parent company or the child company. So we can have that, and we can just name that whatever we want. And you can say the lookup field is going to be companies. After adding the lookup as company, we can say the related company, and if you're adding contact, you can say something like the related contact. So that is for lookup. And you can also make the field mandatory if you want. And for the next one, we have the formula field where you can create different formulas. You can calculate dates, you can calculate time, you can calculate year, and you can also subtract, and you can start with, you can look for the maximum number. You can do all of these functions in Zoho Begin. So I will advise, they have a page where they explain all of this, so you can check it out. You can also calculate your fields. So for instance, if you're having the total times quantity and you want to be able to calculate something, you can also do that. If you want to calculate something like the commission, or if you want to calculate the percentage of something, you can use the formula field for that. And they have different operators like the add and subtract. You can add something, you can subtract, you can also divide, you can make the greater than, the less than, whatever you want to do. And you can also add that if you want. And for the types of the formula field that we have the currency. So you can calculate your currency formula if you want. You can calculate the dates if you also want, and you can calculate the time, the date and time if you want. So for instance, you can calculate the date and time that someone came in into your account. And you can also use boolean, which is just yes or no, and that is for formula field. The next one, we have the date field. You can create a date field where people can be able to pick a date, or you can also ask them to pick a date and a time. So for instance, if you're asking them what time and what date and time they'll be available for a meeting, you can use date and time instead of using just date. And that is for date. And the next one, we have the currency field. The currency field just allows us to be able to create a field where they can be able to add uh, where they can be able to add monetary details. So, for example, if you're asking them for their budget, you can be able to use the currency field to be able to ask for their budget. If you're asking for their budget, if you're asking for annual revenue, if you're asking for the salary of each of their employees, currency field is the way to go. An email field allows us to be able to create email field. For instance, if we're asking for their parents' email, if we're asking for the father or the mother's email, if we're asking for their secondary email, we can use the email field to do this. We can also make this mandatory if you want, and you can say that you do not want to allow duplicate, and this is going to make sure that we do not have duplicate email in our CRM. And you can also encrypt the field if you want. And after the email, we have the phone, where you can also be able to create a phone field. So you can ask them for their mobile number, you can ask them for their office number, you can ask them for their home phone number, whatever it is you want to add. And you can also make sure that you add in a field length. So if whatever country you are in, you can decide that you want to add in a field length. So we can keep the field length as 20, and we can make this mandatory if you want. And you can also decide that you do not want to add duplicate values. And that is for phone. And after phone, we have URL. And for URL, we can decide that we want to ask them their website, or we want to ask them their parent company website. It's just going to allow them to be able to put a URL, something like zohobigin.com or zohocrm.com. And you can also decide to make it mandatory if you want. And after the URL, we have the checkbox, and the checkbox just allows us to be able to ask questions like privacy questions. Do you consent to us sending you newsletters? And when they check the box, that means they are consenting to that. And you can also ask different questions like, do you the terms and conditions questions, or even questions that you feel you need checkbox for. And we also have the user field, which is a very, very important field. You can create a field where it's going to be that is going to generate the users in your Zoho Begin. So we can create like the salesperson, and we can decide that the salesperson will be someone in our organization, a user in Zoho Begin. So you have to make sure you know what you want to use this field for. The user is going to be for everyone in your organization that is in Zoho Begin. So you can create maybe the salesperson, or you can create the approval person, and just name it whatever it is you want to name it. So that is for the custom field. So we have this contact we want to bring in, and as you can see, we have the name, the first name, and all of this information. And if you are going to be bringing in a if you are going to be importing a contact, you have to make sure that all of the fields you are importing are currently in Zoho Begin. So you have to make sure that the lead status is there, the lead source is there, you have the address, and you have the state, you have all of this field that we currently have. So I am not sure I have my lead status. So I'm just going to create um a lead status what's it called? I'm just going to create a lead status field. And for the lead status, we only have one option that can be used for all. And for the lead source, we only have one option. So we are going to be using pick list, and it's going to be single line. Okay, so I have added in all of the options for pick list, and we are picking a single select, and we are picking all of this option for our lead status. So when we are done, we can set a default value if you want, and we can set this as open, and the default value is going to be opened when we do not have a pick list option. So we click on save, and now to click on save and new, because I need to also create the lead source. So let's create the lead source. Okay, so for the lead source, I am copying and pasting it here. So I'm just going to click on add options, and that has added all of my options. So instead of me typing it one by one, I can just load in the option if it is too much for me to type in. And when I load in the option, it is going to bring everything here. So I'm going to name this lead source, and I am picking a pick list, and it's going to be a single select. So after adding that, I can set a default value if I want, but I do not want to do that. And I click on save, and when I click on save, all of the options have been added. So when I'm done, I click on save for everything, and it is going to save all of the new leads. It's going to save all of the new custom field I just added. So the list status is here, so I can drag it and I can drop it here under lead source. Oh, no, yeah. Okay, so we have the lead source and we have the lead status. And when you're done, you click on save. And when you click on save, all of the custom field is going to be saved. The same way we created the custom field for contact is also the same way we create for companies, the way we create for products, even the way we create for pipeline fields. So when we go back into our contact, the contact page is just allowing us to bring every of the leads, the contact that we have, and we can be able to bring all of that into um this place, so we can see all the leads coming from websites. We can bring them here. If there are leads coming from your ads, your LinkedIn ads or whatever ads you are using, you can also bring them in here. And to create a contact, we just need to click on the button create contact, and it's going to bring out this mini form where you can be able to create a new contact. And you can create a contact manually if you want, and you can also decide that you want to import contact. So for instance, if you want to import the contact, this dummy contact here, all we need to do is to go back into Zoho Begin, and we click on import contact, and import contact is going to take us to the page where we can drag and drop in a file, and we can be able to import that file. So let's upload this file. So I'm going to go back to my list. I am going to download this. um I'm going to download it as a CSV file, and that is because the import field in Zoho Begin is only going to allow us download CSV file or Excel file. As you can see, these are the options they allow, and I can click on upload. And when I click on upload, I can bring in my files, and it is previewing it here. And I click on open, and my file is going to be open in Zoho Begin. So now that my file has been updated, I am going to click on next, and it's asking me if I want to add as new contact or if I want to update existing contacts only. So let's say we have contacts in Zoho Begin already, and all we want to do is just to update the existing contact that we have. We are just going to click on this if we want that. But if we are going to be updating and adding new contacts, we are going to be clicking on both, and it is going to ask us to find the existing contact based on the most unique thing people use is the email, but sometimes you can also use the email ID if you want. That is if you have the email ID in your that is if you have the email ID in your Excel file. But if you do not use the email is a very unique field where you can be able to update existing contacts. So we are adding new contacts because um we do not have all of these contacts in Zoho Begin already, and we are skipping every contact based on the email. So that means if we add new contact and we see any other contact that is that have the same email in Zoho Begin, it is going to be skipped. So when we are done, we click on next, and as you can see, it took me to this mapping page where I can be able to map all of the details in here. And as you can see, most of them have been mapped. We have the first name, we have the last name, we have the email, and all of this has been mapped. I just need to look for address. So as you can see, all of this has been mapped, and we can also apply auto mapping, and that is just going to automatically map all of this itself. And we can see the column that has been mapped. We can see the column that has not been mapped. We can also reset the feed mapping, and resetting is going to remove all of this, and you will have to reset it yourself. And we can also create new fields. If you discover that the field that you have in your file are not currently in Zoho Begin, you can just click on create new field. But since they are not any unmapped field, it is not going to create a new field. So you can go back to previous action, or you can go to the next action. And when you click on next, it is taking you to this page where it is going to ask you who to assign this contact to. So if you're importing contacts into Zoho CRM, you will have the list of your users in here, and you can decide who you want to assign this contact to. So we can also add in tags if you have tags in here already. As you can see, we have all of these tags here. But if you want to add in a new tag, all you need to do is just type the name of the tag. As you can see, I want to try to add new lead, but we do not have the new lead tag, so it is going to ask me to create a new lead tag. And as you can see, that has been created, and we go back, yeah. And we can also decide that if we are going to be importing all of these contacts, we want them to trigger an automation in Zoho Begin. And when you click on this, all of these contacts can trigger an automation if they fit any of the criteria you have set in the automation. So we can toggle this on if we want, and when we are done, we click on finish. And when we click on finish, the file is going to be imported. You just need to wait for, like, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes or just 1 minute, and everything is going to be imported. And it is saying here that success, your data has been imported, everything has been imported. You can just click on this, and you can see all of the data that has been imported into Zoho CRM. You can see all of the data that have been added, and the one that have been updated, the one that was skipped. you can also see if you have any warnings for each of the field. As you can see, we have a very clean record, a very clean import. There are no warnings, there are no skipped records, there are no updating records. So when we are done, we cancel this and we refresh our contact page. We should see all of the contacts that we currently have in Zoho. Yeah, so all of the contacts have been added into Zoho Begin. And also there is an other option where we can add in a new contact. So instead of importing all of those contacts, we can also decide that we want to um just click on the button here. We can decide I want to import from another CRM. So if you're using HubSpot or you're using Pipedrive or you're using Zoho CRM before, and you want to import all of these contacts that you have in all of this CRM into this one, into Zoho Begin, all you need to do is just to click on the particular CRM you are using. So we are doing from Zoho CRM to Zoho Begin, and as you can see, it's asking me to choose the organization, and my organization is Glory Words. So I'm just going to choose import now, and this is going to import all of my record in that Zoho CRM account to Zoho Begin. As you can see, it is loading. Now, there is a clause here. You have to be very, very careful while you are doing this, because this is going to import your deals, it's going to import your contacts, it is even going to import your custom fields. Yes. So you have to be very careful if you want all of that data in Zoho CRM into Zoho Begin. If you do not want all of those data, it is better for you to like build up Zoho Begin manually by importing and exporting, creating the custom field you want. But if you want all of those data into Zoho Begin, then you can go through this route. So it is still importing, and while we wait for it to import, we can minimize this. And as you can see, it is saying data import in progress, and that is how to import from another CRM. And also, if we also want to create, we also want to import notes, we can also import notes from a CSV file or from whatever you want to do. We can also create a form if you want, but we'll get to that in a minute. So before we move on to components, I want us to check this out. We have the list view and we have the sheet view. So the sheet view is different from the list view in such a way that, as you can see, it's just the lines to me, but nothing else. But yeah, so my import has been done, and as you can see, it is saying my import is successful, and I can view my import summary. And when I click on view import summary, it is going to show me where it's added all of the records I have. As you can see, it's saying that it added 5 pipelines, it added one user, updated one user, and we do not have products from Zoho CRM, so there is no product. It added 4 components and it added 52 contacts. As you can see, this is everything that is going to be added. That is why you have to be very careful if you actually want to bring all of this into Zoho CRM, into Zoho Begin. Sorry, if you do not want to bring it into Zoho Begin, please do not go through importing from another CRM. So everything that has been added has been is in here. And if you go back to our contact, we should see that our contact should increase and we should have new contacts. As you can see, we now have 72 contacts in Zoho CRM. We can also decide to customize this field if you want, and we can also click on this and we can decide that we also want to see the lead source, and we also want to see the first name and the last name, and we also want to see the, let's say we want to see the tag, and we want to see the list status, and we also want to see what, and maybe the website and industry. So when you are done with picking all of this column that you want, you click on save. And when you click on save, you are going to see that your column will be adjusted and all of what you just added will be in here already. So we have the industry, we have the number of employees, we have the website, and all of this has been added. And we also have the tags, we also have the lead status, and all of this has been added into this column. We have the list view where it is going to list out all of this contacts that we have, and we have the sheet view where it is going to list it like an Excel file. And we also have this view here where we can create custom view for the contacts. As you can see, we have different custom views like the all contacts. We can see the new last week, the new this week, and new this week and last week means that the new contact that was created last week and the new contact that was created this week. And we can also see all of the recently modified contact, they're not viewed yet. And you can even create a view if you want, a custom view if you want. You can name this whatever you want to name this, and you can say maybe this is code leads, name this whatever you want, and you can say that you only want to check for maybe the ones that have the company name, or you want to check the people that are using a CRM. Do you have a CRM? If it is yes, that means they have a CRM. Or you want to even say you want to ask whatever CRM they are using. And you can also see those people that are using HubSpot, or those people that are using Zoho CRM. You can do this for your business however you want. You can create whatever custom view you want to create. So you can also say you want to create code list view, and we are checking the people whose last activity time is maybe 6 months ago. We can say it is a particular date or time, or we can say is after or is before a particular date or time, or we can say that the last activity time, we can say the last activity time was last month, or we can say the last 10 days is like the past days. So we can say maybe like the last 90 days, or we can say the age in this is like if it is if it is let's say the age in days is greater than or equals to 90 days. So that means all the people that we have not contacted in the last 90 days is going to be added to this view. And you can also decide to choose the column for this view. So you can say we want to check the lead source, we want to check the owner, because we want to see who is in control of this code lead, and we also want to check the last activity time. And you can also add in other column if you want. So it is going to ask you who can access this custom view. You can decide that only you should access the custom view, or you can say that you want all the users in your organization to access this custom view, or you can even say we only want selected users to access the custom view. If you only want selected users, all you need to do is just to type in all the users that you want, and when you're done you click on save, and when you click on save, that is going to create your custom view. And see, we do not have any contacts in here because we just imported in all of our contacts. And that is how to create a custom view in Zoho Begin. And other things you can also do in the contacts page is that you can manage tag in here. When you click on manage tag, it's going to list out all of the tags you currently have. And as you can see, I have access to creating 50 tags, and I can decide to add new tags if I want. I can decide to add tags like code leads, or I can add clients or customer. You can add in whatever tag you want to add, and you can give them whatever color that is in here that you want to add. And when you're done, you just click on save. And also you can be able to see the number of contacts that have each of these tags. And when you click on this, as you can see, we have 20 contacts that have this tag. And when you click on this, we have one contact that have this tag. And when you click on this, we have 18 contacts that have the Fiverr client tags. And you can also see all of the contacts that you have in this tag. And the next thing you can also do is to check for duplicate cleanup. And what this means is that we want to identify all of the duplicates that we currently have in Zoho Begin. So we can check duplicates by different this field. We can check if more than one person have the same email. We can also check for phone, we can check for mobile, we can check for company name. And you can also add in a unique field if you want. So for instance, we can add in, if you have an auto number, you can add in an auto number. I know it's not possible to have duplicate auto number, but I just use that as an example. So the most popular one to use is the email, and that is because we believe a contact should not have two. We believe that two contacts should not have the same email in Zoho Begin, and that is because it is going to create duplicates and is going to create bad reports. So we can decide to find every of the contacts that have the same email. When you click on find and merge, when you click on find and merge duplicates, Zoho Begin is going to help you to find all of the duplicates that you have, the one with the same email, and it is going to help you merge them. So you click on OK and proceed. And it's saying that identifying duplicates might take a few minutes. Once we are done, we are going to allow you know. And it's saying also here that no conflict has been found. There are no contacts, no two contacts that have the same email. So it's advisable for you to check this at least once a week, to make sure to keep your data clean, to make sure that everything in Zoho Begin is nice and correct. So after checking of duplicates, we can also export this view, the code leads that we have. If we actually have contacts in this view, we can export that. We can also send a mass email. So if you want to send a mass email in Zobegin, all you need to do is just to come into your contact page, then click here, then click on the mass email. So the mass email is just allowing you to be able to send emails to all of your contacts. So you can also decide that you want to um create a new mass email here. So you click on mass email and you can decide to add this as a subject. So let's say we want to send this as thank you. So I'm just typing something random. So we can say that the recipient for this mass email should be all contacts, or we can even use any of the custom view that we have or the ones that we created ourselves. And as you can see, we have code leads here. We can decide to send a mass email to the code leads if we have any. We can decide also to send to any of the custom view you have created. So let's say we want to send to code leads, and we can see the possible recipients here, which is 0. We can also see that the mass email is remaining 1000. So I still have 1000 credits to send mass email. So we can say that we want to reply to the same address as above, which is this, or you can say you want to send from the record email owner. I mean, the record owner is email. So that will be sending from anybody that is the owner of the record of the contact. Sorry. So you can also decide to send from this email, which is given by Begin. Actually, do not advise to use this because it is not personalized. It's better to use your company's email. So we are going to use the record owner email, and we are going to add in a subject, and we can also choose a template if you have any templates that you have created in Zoho Begin. All you need to do is just to click on the template, and you are going to add that template in here. I'm going to show you how to create a template in a minute. So just for example's sake, we are just going to come over here and we are going to type something random like thank you for choosing us. So we can say something like, thank you for choosing us. We are so happy to serve you in any way possible. Remember that this is a text field, and I mean, this is a text space. You can edit this text however you want. You can add in, you can make this bolded, you can do all of these settings. You can even add in a quote. So even in your email, you can attach a file. So you can decide to upload the file from your computer. Let's say you want to send a PDF to the people. You can upload that PDF from your computer and you can bring it into Zoho Begin, and that PDF is going to be uploaded. Now you can decide that you want to send out this mass email immediately, or you can decide that, you know what, I want to schedule this mass email to go out, and you can schedule this mass email to go out maybe an hour from now, or you can schedule the mass email to go out maybe tomorrow at 10 a.m., or you can even choose a custom date and time. So you just pick the date you want to choose. So you can say, since today is the 9th of December, we can say we want to send this email on the 18th of December. And you can pick the particular time you want to use, maybe 10 a.m. And you can also choose the time zone you want to use. So this is going to automatically pick out your time zone. But you can decide that, you know what, I don't want to use my own time zone, which is Africa or Lagos, which is West African time. I'm just going to pick another time zone which I can use. So you can decide to use EST, you can use PST, just search for whatever time zone you want to pick. And when you are done, you click on schedule and close. When you click on schedule and close, that is going to schedule your mass email. And this mass email is going to go out to everyone in the custom view called code leads. So that is how to create a mass email in Zoho Begin. So now let's see another important part in Zoho Begin, or that is how to create templates in Zoho Begin. So you know how we can be able to add that template into a mass email. We can also be able to use templates in places like the contact. We can use that and send an email directly to the contact. So to create a template in Zoho Begin, all you need to do is to come into email here on that channel, and you go to templates. And when you go to templates, as you can see, we have the different templates we can use here. So you can decide to create a new template, and when you click on new template, it is going to ask you what module you are creating this template for. You can decide to create the template for your deals, you can create it for your contacts, you can create it for your companies, for your tags, for your events, even for your calls. So let's create a template for our contacts. So we can click on next, And when we click on next, it is going to take us to this page where we can write in our template name. We can also add in the subject. We can also add in the text of our template. So we can add in the template name, and we can say something like we want to check for lead reconnection, or want to follow up with them. So we're just going to paste this here, and we're calling this lead follow up. Then we can also add in a subject for the email, and we can add this subject, and we can just say something like it's great connecting with you. And another amazing thing I really love that we can do in Zoho Begin is that we can be able to add personalization to our subject line. Yes, you heard me. So that means if someone comes in and we want to add in their first name to the name of the subject line, or to the subject line to just grab their attention, we can do that in Zoho Begin. So what we have to do is just to click on the hash character in our on our keyboard, and we can say we can add in all of this personalization. So if you have personalization, maybe they choose a product, or they choose or they chose choose or choose or they or they chose, yeah, maybe they chose a product, or maybe they chose a particular CRM that they're interested in. You can pick that as the personalization for this, and you can say something like you want to put in their first name, and you can also add in the contents in here. So for instance, let me just drop this here, and I can say, eye contact, thank you for showing up interest in our company. So you can do all of these as personalization. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this off. So the first one we have is, so the first one that we have for the first personalization, we have the company name. So I'm just going to bring my hash again, and I'm going to say that we are using the I first name. So this is the original one for Zoho Begin. Then we have thank you for showing interest in. You can write in your company name here. Now that we want to use the organization, we can say hash, then the organization name. So we can say hash, then we can say, instead of using contact, we then say organization. So this is going to bring out our organization name. Why is it not coming up? So we are going to bring in our organization name here. And remember that this organization name is our own organization name. So instead of you putting your name every time you want to send out an email, it is just going to generate that. And instead of you putting the first name of the person every time you want to send out an email, it is just going to bring that in. And we are glad to connect with you. Or let's just say we can help you with your project since they do not have deal, and they can say you're available this week, blah 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 blah. Then best regards, and this is going to be the user first name, which is actually my first name. So we are going to put in hash, and instead of using organization, we are going to use user, and we can add in the user first name and the user last name if you want. So you can say Hema from CRMInstructors. So we are going to add in our own company name here, and we're going to use hash, and we're going to use organization, and we're going to add in the organization name. We can also do this for the username and phone. So instead of using that, we are going to put in hash, we are going to use user, and we are going to add in the email of the user, and the phone number of the user. The phone number of the user will be here, and we add in hash, and we add in phone. Do we have phone? Yeah, we have phone. So this is going to help you generate all of this data, or all of this code into your email. So instead of you typing every time your name and your phone number and your email, this is just going to generate it, and it's going to generate it for the particular record holder, or the person sending the email. So when the person sending the email, sorry. So when you're done, you can also attach a file in here if you want to add a PDF or whatever it is you want to add. You can also click on save to save this up. And when you click on save, it is going to ask you to move to a particular folder. So you can decide to create a folder, maybe a sales email folder, or maybe production email folder. You can create a folder from scratch, and when you click on create folder, you can name this folder whatever you want. So let's say we want to add this to our sales email. So we want to add this to our sales email template. We can say that we want to share this with only me. So only me is going to be seeing this template. Or we can say that I want to share this template with all the users in our organization, or we can even pick selected users in the organization. So when you're done with picking whatever you want to do, you just click on create, and that folder is going to be created, and we can then pick the option of the sales email template. So this is going to move this template into the sales email template folder, and you can click on save when you are done. So when you click on save, as you can see, the template has been created, and it has been created for contact. And you can also decide to edit this template if you want by clicking the edit button, and you can adjust whatever it is you want to adjust. So if you want to create a new template, all you need to do is just click on new template. So that is how to create templates in Zoho Begin. The next thing we'll be looking at is companies. And for companies, we can do the same thing we just did for companies in the one we did for contacts. So we have companies here, and as you can see, these are the companies that came from my Zoho CRM account. And you can also create a view for companies. You can say something like you want to check for different properties for companies. You can check for companies that are coming from a particular city, or companies that are in particular countries. You can add in whatever condition it is you want to add. So let's say we want to check in for companies whose billing or the want to check for the billing country is, we can say if the billing country is Nigeria, and we can choose the column we want to add for this. So we can say we want to check the company name, want to check the phone number of the company, the website of the company, and we can also decide to check the company owner and their state and their country. You can add in whatever field you want to add to this column, and you can decide who should see this custom view. You can also name this, and we are going to name these Nigerian companies. Name these Nigerian companies, and we are going to click on save. And when you click on save, that is going to create the custom field for your company. As you can see, we do not have any Nigerian companies in our CRM. So as you can see, all of this has been added also for the column, and you can create a new feed for company also, exactly the same way we went through for contact. So we can also decide to import companies. We can import notes exactly the same way. If you want to import companies, it is exactly the same way we imported the contact. That is the same way we are going to be importing companies. So now we can also decide to manage tags. There are tags for companies also, and we can check for duplicate cleanup. Duplicate cleanup is also going to help you to check for if there is any duplicates in your Zoho Begin for companies. Yes, they can be duplicates for companies, and you can check based on their website or the company name. It is not making any sense for two companies to have the same website. So you can check through their URL to see if there's any duplicate company in your Zoho Begin. And when you click on that, you can click on find and merge, and you click on OK and proceed. It is going to help you to identify all of the duplicate companies you have in Zoho Begin based on the website URL. And when it is done, it is going to show you if there is any duplicate company or if there are no conflicts found. And as you can see, it is saying no conflicts found. That means we do not have any duplicate complaints in Zoho Begin. So the next thing we want to look at is the deals. This is the best part that I love about Zoho Begin. And maybe because I'm a nerd, I don't know. I just feel like Zoho Begin, it's so simple. Like I feel like Zoho Begin is like that soft girl that's just like don't like stress at all. Unlike Zoho CRM is very complex. I'm not trying to scare you if you're using Zoho CRM. I love Zoho CRM also, but I just feel when I'm trying to introduce people to Zoho, I actually allow them to start with Zoho Begin. Using Zoho Begin allow you to understand the concept of a CRM before moving to using Zoho CRM, because Zoho CRM is kind of very complicated, especially when you are just starting out. It is going to be overwhelming at first, but if you start with a simple CRM like Zoho Begin, it is going to give you a simpler way of viewing a CRM before you move to a complex one. And next thing we want to talk about is a pipeline. So pipeline is just representing your sales process. It is showing the process from where a new lead comes in up until they become a customer. So what is your sales process? If you know your sales process, you can be able to build a pipeline. So if a new lead comes in into your business today, what are the next steps you need to do before they can become a customer? That is your sales process. That is your pipeline. So if a new lead is coming in, the next process can be maybe to send an email, or the next process can be to contact them, or the next process can be after contacted, it can be maybe send proposal, proposal sent, proposal accepted, then the contract is sent, then the contract is accepted. So you just need to know your sales process before you can be able to build a very good pipeline. And also we have something called deals in Zoho Begin. Sometimes are called opportunities, and they're like the potential sales or the project that you are tracking. So if you have anyone that is coming in into your business today and they're like, I'm interested in getting your services, then we create a deal for that person. So we have the pipeline view, and the pipeline view just allows us to be able to view our deals based on the different sales process that we have. As you can see here, we have the first step, which is the qualification. We need to qualify the deal first before we move them to the need analysis, before we move them to the proposal, before we move them to the negotiation and review, before we move them to the closed won or closed lost. Yeah, so this is a very good pipeline, and we can then be able to create a deal that we can put on this pipeline. And as you can see, we can be able to drag each deal and put them into different stages. We can decide that we want to move this deal to negotiation review, or we want to move them to closed one if they become one, or we can move them to closed lost if we want. If you see this pipeline and you do not actually like this pipeline, there is something you can do. You can edit the pipeline, and you can also manage the stages of this pipeline. Or you can even say, you know what, I want to create a new entirely pipeline. So when you want to create a new pipeline, you can click on create, and it's going to take you to this page where it is going to ask you if you want to create this pipeline from scratch or if you want to use a template. It's better to use a template if you are new to pipeline, just to understand how pipeline works, or you can just create from scratch if you know what you are doing. And we can also create a new sub pipeline, and a new sub pipeline just allows us to be able to create a pipeline under a main pipeline. Yeah, I know that's confusing, but a sub pipeline is just like helping us to create new series of stages under the main series of stages. So we can say that we want to create a pipeline for the sales pipeline that we already have, and we can start creating a sub pipeline. But let's create a new team pipeline and just see how it works. So let's say we are picking from a template. We have countless templates we can pick from here. We have the customer support templates. We have the project tracker templates. We have the recruitment. We have the issue tracker. We have the, for industries, we have real estate, where there's a new inquiry, then there's site visit, there's paperwork, there's all of those things. So you can check for whatever industry you are in, and you can create a pipeline for your industry. So you can also say that, you know what, I do not want to create for industry, I want to create for teams. And we want to create for customer support for all of those people that have issues with maybe our products, or those people that have issues with our services. We can create a customer support pipeline for them. And we can decide to use these templates by clicking on use templates. And as you can see, customer support pipeline has been created already. And if you like, you can also edit this new pipeline. You can edit the basic info, like the name of the pipeline. You can also edit that the record is going to be called ticket. You can say, instead of using tickets, you can say complaints, or you can say issues, or just use whatever you want, or problems or challenges. You can use whatever you want. And instead of naming this customer support, you can name it whatever you want, and you click on save. And when you click on save, that has been added. And you can also edit the permission for this pipeline. You can say that you only want basic users to be able to have access to this pipeline. So we can decide who the organizer should be and who is going to be managing this pipeline. And we can also decide who can view the records of this pipeline. We can decide who can create, view, and edit their own records only in this pipeline. And we can also decide that we want to this person to only view. So all you need to do is just to select users for each of these stages, and you can be able to put that user in. Or you can even use profile. You can decide that only the admin should be the organizers of this pipeline. And you can decide that only the sales rep should be the participants. So that means only the sales rep can delete their own record, and they do not have they do not have access to other users' record. So if you're a participant, it means that you are only going to have access to view and edit your own record, and you cannot view and edit another person's record. So if we have sales rep, you can use sales rep for this. And for members is only going to allow you to view, but you can also create and edit and delete only their own record, but they can view all of the records in the pipeline, not only their own, even other people's own, but they can only edit their own. So you can use standard for this. For managers, you can say that only these people can view and edit and delete record in this pipeline, but they cannot manage and customize it. So we do not want to make any changes to the pipeline, but they can create and edit record. So you can use maybe administrator for that. So you can select whatever profile or whatever user you want to do. And when you are done, you just click on save. And when you click on save, that is going to edit your permission. So now you have to be very careful of whatever permission you are putting in, because whatever you put in is going to affect the whole organization. So when you put in those permission in, it is going to have effect immediately. So you want to make sure you are doing the right thing before you start doing it. So when you click on this button again, you can be able to manage the stages. So we have the different stages in here. We have the open stage and we have the close stage for this pipeline. So the close stage is the one for close, deferred, not an issue. We can also decide that you want to add in another stage in this open stage. So we can add in something like qualified, and we can click on this green check and box, and we can just click on that, and that is going to add that stage in there. We can then decide to drag this and just drop it in anywhere you want. The same thing applies for the close stage. We can decide to add another option for the close stage if we want. We can add in closed one and closed lost. But since this is a customer support pipeline, there is nothing like closed one or closed lost, because it is not a deal. So we are just going to leave that in, and when we are done with adjusting all of the pipeline, we can then click on done. So when we click on done, that is going to add in the new stage qualification, and you can also customize the field. You can decide that you want to add any other field you want to add in here. Even from your custom fields, you can add that in. So we can say if we have the sub pipeline stages, you can also say that we can want to drag in all of these fields from the custom field into this place here. So when you are done with adding whatever field you want to add, so for instance, let's add in the start date. We can say this is the start date for working on the ticket, or we can add in the type of the ticket if we have created that. We can also add in the next step for the ticket. And when you are done with adding all of this custom field, you can then click on save. And when you click on save, this is going to update the particular, what's it called, the particular this is going to update the columns in the deals. So when we go back to sales pipeline, in here, we can then be able to create a deal in sales pipeline. As you can see, this is saying ticket, while this is saying deal. So you want to also make sure to check if you want to name both of them as deal, or if you want to name whatever it is you want to name. And we are going to click on create new deal. So when we are creating new deal, as you can see, we need the deal name, we need the contact name, and we also need the sub stage pipeline. And we need to choose a stage for the sub pipeline, and we also need to choose a closing date, and we also need to add all of this if we want. So we are just going to add in a simple name, which we are going to call CRM. So we are going to check in for a contact. We can decide to associate a contact that is already existing in this Zoho Bigin account. So we can just pick a random contact and just associate them with this deal. So we can pick this person, and we can pick a sub pipeline if we want. And when you pick a sub pipeline, you can pick a stage for the sub pipeline. So we can say this is qualification, and you can pick the amount for the deal. As you can see, the amount for deal is in US dollars. In your settings, you can decide to change this to your currency. So let's say we want to keep this at $1,000, and we want the closing date to be maybe 25th of December, which is on Christmas Day. And we can decide to name this, we can decide to add in the number of employee as 1 to 100. We can say the budget is $1,000, and we can say the proposal, no, we cannot add that. So we can also leave the rest blank, and we can click on save. And when you click on save, that is going to create a new deal inside of your pipeline. And as you can see, it's saying the history in here. You can see the history of who created this deal. You can see the email that have been triggered by the workflow. You can see all the information in here. You can see the email, you can see the phone number, you can even see the stage that they are currently in. And you can even add tags in here. You can say maybe they are odd or they are one. You can add in whatever tag it is you want to create. And you can also see your notes here. If you have any notes that you want to add about this deal, you can add that. And if you have any activities like the tags that has been done, the the events that has been created, you can see that in here. And if you send an email to this, oh my god, I'm in contact. Oh no. Okay, so I'm back in deal. I didn't know I was in contact. Okay, so we can see the deal here and we can send email if we want. We can collect payments from this deal if we want. We can also see the email history for this deal. We can see the stage history when they get to each stages at each particular time. We can see the file that has been associated with this deal. We can also see the products that we are adding for this particular deal. So we can also decide to clone this deal if we want. Yeah, I forgot to do something. So if we go back to contact and we click on contact and we click on any of the contact that we have. Okay, I need to click on all contacts. And now that we have all of our contacts, as you can see, this is a contact. And we can say that we want to send an email directly to this contact. So we just need to send email. And when you click on send email, you can be able to choose a template. Remember that we just created a template for contact. And when you click on that, it is going to generate everything for this contact. As you can see, we have this name of the contact, then this is my name from Glory World, and this is my email. I do not have phone, that is why it is not showing up here. So that is the amazing thing about using a template where you put in all the personalization. Everything is going to be imported for you. You do not even need to lift a finger to start looking for all of this information. It is going to bring everything in. And when you are done, you can schedule the email or you can send the email. So for this particular contact also, you can also decide to clone it, and you can decide to delete this contact also. So when you click on this, you can decide to schedule an online meeting with them, or if you also want to meet them now, you can also send that notification to meet them now. So when you click on this next button, it is going to go to the next contact, and this is to go to the previous contact, and that is what I just wanted to show you. And you can also see that you can add in tags there, you can add in other infos, you can see who last modified the contact. This is very important because if any changes is made to this contact, we want to see who is making those changes. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to pipeline. And for still on the topic of pipeline, as you can see, we can be able to use the pipeline view where we can list out all of the deals we have in the pipeline form, or we can use the sheet view where we can be able to list out all of the deals that we have in a sheet format. Also decide to manage our tags, and while managing our tags, we can create tags for deals. We can export this view if you want, and we can manage all of our email schedules. If you have any email schedules for pipeline that you've already scheduled, you can see all of that in here. So you can see the scheduled emails, and you can also see whatever draft emails that you have, and you can create a new email if you want. Okay, so that is how to create a pipeline and how to create a deal, and also how to manage your deal. You can also do a quick preview over here to see all of the information about the deal you have created. And one amazing thing about Zoho Begin that I think it's really making a lot of sense is that we can create a form for contact, and we can also create a form for contact and deal. Like, that is very amazing. So when you click on new form, you can create a contact form where the information is going to be feeding into the contact page. So you are creating form for contact. And you can also decide that, you know what, I want to create contact, I mean a form for contact, company, and deal. So that means if you ask people to fill out that form, it is going to fit into the contact at the same time the company, at the same time the deal. That is really impressive. I'm not even going to lie. So to create a pipeline form, because I feel contact form is kind of simple, or let me just create a contact form first. So to create a contact form, you just need to like have this page. You can upload your logo. Let me see if I can find a simple logo here. So you can upload your logo in here. If you do not want this, you can upload a new logo, or you can remove it, or you can even make it large if you want. You can decide to send to align it to the left, to the right, to the center, whatever works for you. And also you can add in a form title, and we are just going to name this contact form. And we can add in another section if you want. So maybe this section is just for basic information. You can add that section, and you can add the description of the section. You can also add in the different fields that we have. So let's click on done here. So let's say we are asking for their first name, and we are asking for their last name, and we want to check in their phone, and we want to check in for their email also. So this is a simple contact form in here, and you can be able to customize your you can be able to customize each of this field, and you can say that you want to limit the number of characters, you can restrict numbers, you can also add in a description just to allow the person to see what this is for. So maybe please fill in your last name, or fill in your father's name, whatever it is, you can add that in. And when you are done, you just click on done. And for email, you can also do the settings for email, and you can also decide to make this a required field. And it is going to be feeding in into the email field of your Zoho Begin account. So we can decide we want to allow all domains, or you can restrict specific domains. If you do not want to receive gmail.com, you can restrict that and say that anything that has to do with gmail.com, I don't want. You can also decide that, you know what, I'm just going to allow all domains. And when you are done, you click on done, and you can also decide to add another section here if you want, but let me delete this. I do not need this section. And we can adjust this button here by adding a different color if we want. And if you want it to be white, you can add white, you can add green, whatever color works for you. You can add orange, and you can center it to the left or to the right. You can make it box at the edge, or you can make it over. You can also decide to change this submit to maybe send, or whatever it is you want to do. And it is asking me here to show Zoho Begin branding. No, I don't want to. So I'm just going to toggle this off. I do not want their branding in my form. So I can decide to preview this if I want, and this is how my form is going to look like. And I can also do the same thing for companies, and I can create a form where I can ask for company details, and I can also ask for contact details. So for instance, I can say this is for company name. We're asking them for the company name, I can just bring that in. And we're also asking them for the number of employee, I can also bring that in. So I can also decide to bring any of this, like their websites, and you can bring all of this in, and you can make them mandatory if you want. And when you are done, you can click on preview. You can change the fonts to maybe area, or you can change the fonts to you can change the font size if you want. So we are changing the font size for the field. You can increase it, you can decrease it, you can adjust it however you want. So when you click on next step, this is going to show you your form details. So you can either say that you want to adjust this form rules, and instead of using contact form, you can use maybe this is your I don't know, you can name it whatever you want, and you can assign an owner immediately. So you can say you want every of this contact coming in through this form should go to Emahira, that is me. And you can also decide to notify the owner whenever there is a new submission. So if you know that it is going to be a large submission, please do not notify the owner. It is going to be overwhelming. You can also decide to add in a tag, and we're going to be adding this tag as new lead. And you can enable double opt-in if you want. And by enabling double opt-in, you are saying that you want them to fill the form and receive a confirmation for them to be added to our list before they can be added to our list. You can also decide to acknowledge the visitor if you want by sending an email. Like if there is a welcome email you have or welcome template that you have, you can send that welcome template by saying, "Thank you for coming in. We really appreciate you for coming into our organization. Let us know how we can serve you, blah, 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 blah." And you can add that in. After acknowledging the visitor, you can request for approval, and this is going to allow you to be able to approve all of the contacts that is coming through this form. If you do not need that, you just remove that. And for duplicates, we want to be able to manually approve duplicates, or we want to merge duplicates, or we want to allow duplicates. The best thing to do here, according to me, is to merge duplicates. And merge duplicates will allow you to be able to see if there are different people submitting the same form, especially with their same email. We can be able to merge those duplicates together, and we can add in a thank you message that is going to say something like, "Thank you for filling the form. We wish to hear from you. I mean, you are going to hear from us soon," or whatever it is you want to add. You can also redirect to a page, maybe a page on your website, or you can redirect to whatever it is you want to add. And we can say that a field should be auto-filled on submission. So that means if someone fill out this form, we can say that we want to fill the lead source, and we want the lead source to be form, or maybe form field, or whatever it is you want to add. I don't think I have that option, but let me see. So I can say my lead source. Where is it? So I can say my lead source is any of this option. I can say if I have a option called maybe form field or whatever it is, I can add in that option. So let's just imagine that this partner is form. And we can also add in a new field which is going to be filled automatically when people fill out the form. And when you are done, you are going to click on save and next. Yeah, I just need a thank you page. Thank you. And when I'm done, I'm going to click on save and next, and that is going to save this form. And as you can see, I can copy this link and I can share this link to people in my email. I can share it on a button on my website, and people can come into this form and they can fill out this form, and it is going to be going into Zoho Begin directly. And when you also come back in here, you can see here that you can embed this form on your website. So if you have the source code, you can impute the source code on your website by using the JavaScript, or if you are using the iframe. If you want to know how to embed a form on a website, I have attached the video in here. I went in depth into how to embed the form on your website. All you just need is the iframe code, and you just need to or the JavaScript code, and you just need to embed it. So if you are doing something like t-shirt, or if you have maybe you want to put out a QR code on your website, you can add that in here by just downloading this QR code. And when you click on download, you can add that QR code to your website. And when people scan that QR code, it is going to take them to the form. And that is how to share your form. And when you're done, you just click on done, and your form has been created. Another thing we can actually do also is to create a pipeline form. Okay, so now that we have created the contact form, let us see how we can create the pipeline form in Zoho Begin. So when you click on the plus form, new form here, instead of picking contact form, you are going to pick pipeline form. And when you click on create pipeline form, it's going to ask you to choose the pipeline you want to create this for, and you can pick whichever pipeline you have in your Zoho Begin. As you can see, this is the customer support form we created, and this is the sales pipeline we just created. So you can pick whichever one you have, and when you pick that, you can be able to see all the fields that we have for deals. You can see the fields that we have for contacts, and you can see the fields that we have for complaints. So this means that if someone fill out this form, we are going to be creating the deal. At the same time, we are going to be creating the contact and the complaint. So instead of you manually creating the contact for each of the deals, the contact is going to be created, and it's going to be associated with the deals. So now that we are here, we can start with contact. We want to ask for their first name, and we want to ask for the email, So we want to ask for the first name and want to ask for the last name. The last name is already here. And we want to ask for the due name and the closing date. So these are very compulsory in Zoho Begin. So instead of naming this as due name, we can name this something else. So we can say, tell us the name of your project. So instead of saying deal name, we can say something like tell us the name of your project, and this is going to allow them to be able to tell us the name of their project. And we can say, just to make sure that the characters of this name is not too long, since it's going to be a deal name, we can say the maximum character they can use is 30. So they need to name their project in 30 characters. So whether 30 words or whatever signs they want to use or character they want to use, it has to be 30 and a maximum of 30. So we can also decide I want to restrict numbers. So we do not want numbers in the name of this deal. We can also do that. We only want text. Tell us the name of your project is going to be syncing in with the deal name. And you can also decide to add in a help text here, and you can name this the example of what they are going to be saying. So for example, we can add in a help text here, and we can say, so we can add in an help text here or a help text, and this is going to help us to be able to let them know the kind of naming we want. So we can ask them to put something like automation mapping, or they can say maybe they want to do contact cleaning, whatever it is that they want to do, they can be able to fill that in. And for the closing date, instead of asking this as a closing date, because most people do not know the meaning of closing date, so let's save this first. And when we go into closing date and we click on the share button here, we can be able to edit the name of closing date. So instead of saying closing date, we can say, um, when would you like your project to be completed? So we can say when will you like your project to be completed, and it's going to be feeding in into the closing date. We can also decide that we do not want past date, because we our closing date is always a future date. So we can say we do not want past date, or you can even decide to allow all dates if you want. But I would advise, if you're using closing date, it should be a future date. So we can also select date range if you want. You can decide that you only want people to be able to fill in dates from this year. They cannot fill in dates from next year, or they cannot fill dates from the upper year. So you just want it to be this year. So you can restrict that to this year. So you can say that you only want them to fill in dates from 10th of December 2025 to maybe 10th of December 2026. So anything above that, no one will be able to put that date. So you can also set that. But the most important thing I want to do in this closing days is just to restrict past dates. You can put in whatever dates you also want. So when you are done, you click on done, and when you click on done, that is going to be updated. We also have for contact, we can ask them for their mailing street, the mailing city. So instead of using mailing city, we can just say um city, street, and state. Let's ask for state, and let's ask for country. So we can decide to edit all of this and remove the mailing from the name and just leave it the way it is. So for mailing street, we can say something like your address. We can say something like your address, and we can decide to mark this as required field. And when you're done, you click on done. And for your city, you can also change that and remove um, mailing. If you have any contact custom field you want to add, you can also add that in here. So for instance, if you have all of this custom field that you have created, you can drop in whatever it is you want to use. So since we are asking them for their project, we also need to ask them for the kind of CRM that they are using. So if they are using Zoho CRM, they should be able to type that in, and you can also edit this and change the name if you want. So when we go back to fields, we can also go to company, and we can add in all of the company fields also. So we can ask for their company name, and let's put company name around here. And we can also ask for their websites if you want. You can ask for the number of employees if you want. And this is going to be feeding in into the company module. And for the contact, we've done that. So let's do for the deal. We already have the deal name and the closing date, but we can also ask for the amount. Instead of just asking for amounts, we can ask something like, what is your budget, or what budget are you working with? And this will allow them to be able to put in a an amount for the project. When you ask this, it is going to be feeding in into the begin field, which is amount. And when the deal is created, the amount is going to be set to this. So we can mark this as required if we want, and you can limit the value range. You can say that the lowest budget they should have should be $10,000, or the lowest budget they should have is $300,000, or whatever it is you want to use. And since we are only marking as required, we can leave that. And when you're done, you click on done. You can also decide to add in a start date, and the start date will be, you can say something like, when would you like to start your project? You can also add in all other custom fields that you have that you want to add to this form. So not to make this form too long, we just wanted to have the most important information for us to be able to qualify the deal, or yeah, for us to be able to qualify the deal. So we can just leave it this way, and when we are done, you can either preview this or you can make some adjusting here. So you can make some adjusting here by clicking on the font family, and you can change your font family to whatever font that is available here. You can also change your font size to whatever you want, and you can also align to the left, to the top. You can align to whatever it is you want to align, and you can decide to align to the right. You can decide to align to the center. I actually prefer the top one, so I'm just going to leave that. And for the tools, we can also see that we can add in privacy policy. So we can add this as you can write in something like allowing them to agree to your privacy policy and um, terms of service. And if you have your privacy policy document, you can just link that in here. And when you click on this link, you can be able to add that link for this privacy policy. The same thing applies for terms of service. So when you're done, you just click on save. So I do not need that, so I just remove that. And for the file upload, we can also ask them to apply for, let me remove this. We can also decide them, you can also decide to allow them to upload a file. And when you drag in the file upload here, as you can see, they can be able to upload a file. So you can ask them for maybe the documentation of their projects, or you can ask them to send the workflow mapping that they already have, or whatever it is you want to add. So we have Google Capture, we also have the normal capture, and this is going to allow you to be able to restrict bots from filling your form. So let's move into the design place where we can customize our background. When you click on this, you can be able to change the background of your form, and you can change it to whatever color it is you want. So you can also change this you can also use a you can also use an image, or you can use a custom color. So let's say the color you are using for your business is not here. All you need to do is just click on here and put in the color code, and when you put in the color code, it's going to generate the color, and then you can click on apply. But if you are going to be using diagram, you can see the diagrams that they have in here, or you can just decide to download whatever diagram you want to use. So when you click on download, it is going to take you to the to your file, your computer file, and you can be able to upload that image into Zoho Begin. So you can pick their available images if you want also. So the next thing I want to do after adding all of this field is to add in a form title. So when we want to add this, we can name this contact form also, or you can name it whatever you want. And you can also add in a section title where maybe you ask for payment details, then you ask for company details. You just need to like mark that section, the different section title, and you can add in the description if you want also. I do not need this, I'm going to take that off, and I'm just going to put in a random logo. and I can align my logo to the center, to the right. I can make it large if I want, and I can also, let me add in the background. Yep. Okay, so I can preview this to see how this form is going to look like. And when I click on preview this, you can just click on preview and you can be able to see how your form is going to look like on desktop, on tablet, or on phone. You can also be able to cancel this and go back to the editor. And like I said, you can change your background here. And when you are done with all of this editing, you can then click on the next step. So the next step is going to take us to the form details, where we can be able to adjust the URL. You can be able to assign this to a particular contact. And since we have a contact form already, we are just going to name this um, contact form for project. So I'm going to name this. I'm going to name this contact form for project, and I'm assigning the owner, and I can notify the owner anytime there is a new lead through this form. And also I can decide to add in a sub pipeline if I want. So let me just add it to the sales pipeline, and it's going to be a and it's going to be the qualification stage. And we can add in a tag if we want. We can add in the tag as new deal, or you can add new contacts, whatever it is you want to add. You can enable double opt-in. You can also check for duplicates by manually approving them, or you can decide to merge any duplicates that is coming in. You can also decide to use a thank you message, or you can restrict them to a page. You can redirect them to a page, sorry. So when you add in a thank you message, you can say something like thank you for filling the form. And you can also decide to autofill a particular field when they are coming in. So for instance, if they are coming in, we can say that the contact should be autofilled, and we want the lead source for the contact to be a particular name. So we can name this whatever lead source we have. So I can say that the lead source is going to be our online store if I'm going to be putting this form in my online store on my website. I can also decide to update a deal field if I want, and update a contact field, and update a company field. So when you're done, you just click on done, and you can add in whatever field you want to update. So the next thing you want to do is you want to save and next, and when you click on save and next, it is going to take you to the next page. So your form has been created here, and as you can see, we can copy the link here, and we can send out this link to various people through our email. We can also embed it on our website through a button. And when you copy the link to this form in here and you take it to another page and we paste it, we should be able to see our form. So this is our form, and this is what people are going to see, where the link is leading to. Oh, I have this badge here. Okay. So I can turn off this so begin branding here. I don't want it over there, so I'm just going to turn this off. And I'm going to click on next step again, save and next. And also I can embed this form on my website by using the iframe or the source code or the JavaScript code. I have a comprehensive video here up here where you can be able to see how to embed a Zoho form on your website. It's exactly the same process of how to go about this. And when you are done, also you can see the QR code. You can put in the QR code on your website, where people can scan the code and it's going to lead to the form, or people can be able to scan it on your t-shirt or whatever it is you are using. And when you are done, you click on done, and your pipeline form has been created. And now that we have the pipeline form created, we can also share the form from here. And when you click on this and share the form, it's going to take you to this page directly. And also you can be able to edit it by clicking on this edit button. You can also decide to copy the link, or you can share the form, or you can also decide to delete the form if you do not want the form. So that is everything we need to know about pipeline form. The next thing we want to look at now is the products. So for products in Zoho Begin, we can be able to add in various products that we have in our organization into Zoho Begin. You can decide to add in a product manually, or you can decide to import from a file. And as you can see, you can put in your product name, you can put in your product code, your product category, and your unit price and a description for your product. So when you're done, you just click on save. And if you are importing from a file, all you need to do is to click on import from a file. It is going to take you to this page where you can be able to upload your file. So I have this domain product here, which I can bring in into Zoho Begin. And as you can see, we have the product name, the product code, the description, the unit price, the quantity in stock, and the product category, and all of this. One thing you need to do to before you bring in products into Zoho Begin is to make sure that all of what you are importing is currently in Zoho Begin. All of the fields you are importing is in Zoho Begin already. We have the product name, we have the product code, and we have the description, we have the unit price, but I'm not sure we have the quantity in stock. So I'm just going to go back into Zoho Begin, and I am going to create that I'm going to create the custom field for that. So remember that to create the custom field, we can click on this setting button here, and we go into fields. And when we go into fields, we can see that we can create product field also here. We can click on customize fields, and it's going to take us to the page where we can customize the field for the product model here. So I can decide to add in a custom field, and I can name this quantity in stock, and this is going to be, oh, it already exists. Where? Oh yeah, it is here. Okay, so it is a decimal. I have the quantity in stock, and I'm bringing a quantity in stock in. And when I go back to my CSV file, I also have product category, and I am sure I have product category in Zoho. Yeah, so we have product category, and it is a single select, and I can decide to edit this, and I can add in the other options that I have. So let's go back into my products, and let's look for all of the project product category I have. So, mhm, okay. So I have loaded in all of my options there, and I can decide to replace the existing options that I have, or I can just decide to add this as option. So I've added that in, and as you can see, it's brought in all of my options there, and I can decide to set as a default value if I want, and I can decide to just click on save. And when I click on save, that has been saved. And when we go back in here, we can also add in any other custom field we have in this in this sheet. Okay, so when I'm done with adding all of the custom field in here, I can then click on save. And when I click on save here, this is going to save in all of the custom field I just added. So our products fields have been updated, and now I can decide to go ahead to import my products. So I'm going to go back to product, and I am going to click on import from a file, and this is going to take me to this page where I can upload my product. So I need to download my products first, and remember that you need to download as a CSV file or as an Excel file. So let's go to download here, and we're picking the CSV file, and yeah, so click on save. So we come back to Zoho Begin, and we click on upload, and we bring in the sheet we just added in. We click on open, and we click on next. When it has been uploaded, we can decide to add in new products, or we can decide to update existing products based on the product ID or the product name. And we can also decide to add new products, or to and at the same time update existing products if there are existing products. But since we do not have any products in Zoho Begin, We're just going to add in as new products, and we are going to be skipping any products based on the product name. And we click on next, and as you can see, all of this has been mapped. And when you make sure that all of this and when you make sure that all of these fields are correct, you can then click on next. And when you click on next, it is going to ask you to assign an owner. So let me just go to previous and let me remove this. Yeah, so as you can see, we've mapped everything we need to map. I'm removing owner because we do not have the product owner email in that in that sheet. So I am just leaving it the way it is. I can also reset the feed mapping, and resetting the feed map is going to cancel everything that has been mapped in here. And I can also apply auto mapping if I want. And I can also decide to check sample data from the file to see how it is looking like. And as you can see, this is one of the products, and we have the owner as Emma Era 98, not the email, so we cannot add that in. And if you see that you have any field um in Zobegin that is not in your if you see that you have any field that is in your file but not in Zobegin, you can decide to create new fields if you want. So when you're done, you click on next. Yes, so it is going to ask you who you need to assign this product to. So you can decide to assign to anyone on your team, and you can also decide to add in a tag if you want to add in a tag. And when you are done, you click on finish. And when you click on finish, your import is going to be scheduled and is going to be done. So it took about maybe 1 minute for this to finish importing. And as you can see here, it is saying success, your file has been imported. And as you can see, we have added in 30 products into our Zoho Begin account, and no product was updated, no product was also skipped. There is no warning, so that means this was a clean import. If you are having warnings, or if you are having skipped record, it is advisable to see. Zoho Begin is going to tell you what went wrong in the warnings, so you should see what exactly is going on, and you can then go ahead and re-import the product by updating the existing product also. So we can go back, and when we refresh this page, we should see all of our new products. Okay, now so here is all of the products that have been added into Zoho Begin. So the way to use products is to go into a particular deal that you currently have, and you can then decide to add in a product for this. So as you can see, we are in the product page, and we can decide to add in products. So we just need to search for whatever product we want to add to this, and you just need to bring it in into this place. So when you bring in whatever product the particular client have, so let's say we want to add in this product, we just add that in. So what Zoho Begin is going to do, that it is going to change the amount of your deal according to the product price. So if I decide to add in another product, it is going to add in both the amount of both products, and it's going to name that the amount of my deal. So let's search for another product, and let's just add that in. So let's say this person wants a website audit and a lead generation kit, and they want 3 lead generation kits, not just one. So we had that. Zobegin is going to help us calculate it. And even if you have a discount for the particular client, for instance, so we can say that I want to apply a 30% discount. So we just type in 10. And as you can see, it is taking off $45. And that's because 10% of 450 is $45. Then we can click on this checkbox here, and it is going to update my the deal, the what's it called, the price for this deal. And this is actually very, very important. If you are using Zoho Begin, you can also make sure that you add in the particular product for this particular client. So we can go back, and we can go back to product. Remember that you can also create a custom view for products. You can check in products that are belonging to a particular owner, or you can check in products that have in a particular tag, or you can check in products that is in a particular category. So we can check in, maybe once you check in product that is in product that are in CRM services, we want to check in CRM application, we want to check in everything that has to do with CRM, then we can add that as a custom view. So we can name this CRM services, and we can decide who can access this custom view. It can be only me, or we can say we want all users in the organization, or we only want selected users. We click on save, and when you click on save, that is going to create a product view. And as you can see, this is everything we have under CRM. So you can also decide to add in another custom view if you want. You can also decide to filter products by all of this. So if you have all of your products in here, let me go to active products, and let's say you want to filter by the created time, you can do that. You can filter it by product category. You can also do that. So instead of creating custom view for everything, you can just use the filter product. So another thing you can also do is to make this a sheet view instead of a list view, and this is going to come up as a sheet view. So you can also decide to create a custom field for your product from here, and you can also decide to customize your field. So let's say you want to change the view for all of this. You can decide to add in whatever it is you want to add. You can add in the the unit price and the unit in stock. You can also decide to add in a tag. The tag, that means, is going to show up in this column here. So for the product owner, we can bring the product owner here, and we can just click on save. And when we click on save, it is going to update our product view. So as you can see, all of this has been updated, and we have the quantity in stock, we have the tag, and the product owner. So that is everything we currently have for products. Now let us move on to the next place, which is activity. So the activity model in Zoho Bigin is where we manage all of our to-do list. So if you have a to-do list where you need to call someone, or you need to create a proposal, or you need to have a meeting, activity is the place where we do every all of those things. So it is anything that is time bound or actionable that you need to do with respect to a contact or to a deal, and that can be done in your activity model. So for activities, we have tasks where we can be able to create different tags that we need for different contacts or for deal. We can also create an event for contact or for deal, like meetings, like follow-up meetings, like webinar. We can also create calls, or we can log in calls in the activity module also. So to log in a call, you can log in a call manually, or you can set up phone calling that is integrated with Zoho Begin already. So like I said, your tasks are like your to-do items, or what you need to do in your everyday, uh, what you need to do for some particular contacts or particular deals. So something like sending of proposal, emailing of contacts, you know, um, maybe creating a proposal or reviewing your proposal. Those are going to fall under tasks. And for events, we have meetings, we have demos, and we have calls that you need to set up with a contact or with a deal. And we also have calls where you can be able to log in a call, a manual call, or you can decide to set up the phone calling in Zoho Begin. So the calendar is where everything is going to be showing up, and you are going to be seeing whatever tasks you have for the month, or whatever tasks you have for today. You can also decide to move this back to see the tasks or the activities you had in the previous month, and you can use this button to go to the next month. You can also check in for week, you can check in for day, and day is going to allow you to be able to see all of your tasks in that particular day. You can also check in for week, you can check in for month. So you can also decide that you want the activity types, you only want to check for events on your calendar, or you only want to check for calls on your calendar, or you only want to check for tasks on your calendar. You can also do this. So you can also decide that you only want to check for only your activity, and that means that you only want to check activities that are assigned to you, or you want to check all of the activities in the organization that is assigned to the different users in your organization. You can decide to check the open or the closed, or you can check all of the activities that you have. And another thing you can also do is that you can set up a booking page where you can be able to allow contact to book a call using your booking page. So what you need to do is to click on the booking page, and it is going to take you to this place where you can create a booking page. So to create a booking page, you just need to click on this, and it's going to ask you if you want to create a one-on-one. If you only want to create a one-on-one, that means the contact can only meet with only one person. If it is also a group event, you can say that multiple people can book the call at the same time. So let's create a one-on-one page, and let's see how that is going to look like. So we can add in the service image. So let's just add in a random image here, and we can name this as let's say we want to name this consultation call, and we can add in the page link as the name also, or you can change it to whatever you want. You can add in a description here and just say something like this is a call to help us understand what you need. And you can decide to create this booking as an event, or you can decide to create it as a call. So you can also decide that the event type is offline or if it is online. So if it is offline, it has to be a physical location. That means it can be your participant's location, or it can even be your own business location. That means your own office. So if it is your participant location, you can add that. But if it is online, you can also decide that you want to use Zoom meeting. And if you add in other any other meeting app like Google Meet or like Zoom, you can also add that in here. So we are using Zoom meeting here, and it is asking us to, oh, if we're using Zoom, it is asking us to connect to Zoom, but I don't want to use Zoom, so I'm going to use Zoom meeting, and I'm going to assign this to myself, and I'm going to click on next, and it is asking me for the duration of the meeting. So we can say that the duration of the meeting should be 30 minutes, or it can be 90 minutes, or it can be 120 minutes, whatever it is you want. And we want a reminder to be sent 30 minutes before the meeting, or we want it 15 minutes before the meeting. Our availability for this call, this is the time that people can be able to book a call on this calendar. So we can say that we only want to accept calls from Monday to Thursday. We do not want Friday and weekends, and we only want this call to be scheduled from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that means anything outside of this time is not going to, let me copy to other days. So let's copy to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Apply. Yes, as you can see, it has changed that. So that means any time outside of this time, they will not be able to book a call. And when you are done with your availability, as you can see, the time zone is in Africa, Lagos. That is because that is what I have set my own time zone to be. If your own is EST, this time is also going to be in EST. So you have to make sure you are very, very cognizant of this. Um, you have to make sure that you are very, very particular about the time you are adding, because this is going to show up at different time zone, and you want to make sure you set it to the available time. So this is going to show up in different time zones. So if anybody from maybe US or UK is seeing your time zone, it is going to be a different time for them. So you click on next when you set that up. You can also decide to add in a participant form. So we can add in, this form will be the form that is going to be filled before they can book in the call. So we can say we want to add in and their first name, obviously. We want to add in the first name. Let me add fields. Add in the first name. We want to add in their challenges or their pain points. We want to add in do they use CRM software, and we want to add in their industry and their website. So you can also decide to set this as mandatory if you want. Set whichever one you want as mandatory. So after setting whatever you want as mandatory, you can then click on finish. And when you click on finish, your booking page has been created. And now you can see the link to your booking page where you can be able to embed on your website if you want. using the iframe, or you can copy the link and share with people, maybe through your email or through your website button, whatever it is you want to add, and they can then come into this page where they can be able to book a call. So as you can see, this is our booking page, and people can be able to book a call to us from here. And let's say we book a call for the 18th of December, then it is asking us if we want to use 24 hours or AM or PM. Then I want to use AM or PM. And as you can see, the time zone in here is West African time. I can decide that if I'm on the EST time zone, I want to change this to EST time. So I'm just going to change the time, and as you can see, it is a different time for me. So the we are from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. So I'm just going to say that I want this meeting at 9 a.m. and it's going to ask me for my name, and I need to put in all of these details. Oh, okay, so my let's say my last name is Emma. Okay, let's see, Glory. Okay, so I have filled in this form, the booking form, and I can click on confirm booking. And when I click on confirm booking, it is going to book that call in Zoho Begin. And as you can see, the event has been scheduled. It has been scheduled for December 10th, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. at Eastern Standard Time (EST). So I can decide to schedule another event if I want, and I can pick the particular date and time that I want, and you can select whatever time it is you want. So when I go back into my Zoho Begin page, I should be able to see the new event that was created. So when I go back to activities and I refresh my page, as you can see, we have this call for the 10th, and that means this call has been added in here, and you can see all of the information about the call. You can see the participants, and this also will have created a contact in Zoho Begin. So this is the name of the event, and you can see the participants. You can copy the invitation link, and you can send this invitation link to another person from you can send the invitation link where people can be able to like come into this particular meeting. So that is for booking page. And the next one what we want to see is for task, which we can create different tasks. Maybe we want to send a proposal, or we want to send a contract. You want to send whatever it is you want to send. You just need to name your task. So we can say the name of the task is create contact. So the name of the task is create contract. Oh shoot. And the due date is the date that we must finish this task. So we can say the due date should be on Monday. We can add in as a repeat, and we can add in a reminder. The reminder can be due date, or we can say maybe a day before the due date, or whatever you want to use. So we can add this particular task for a pipeline, that means the deal, or we can add it for a contact, or we can add it for complaints. So let's say we want to add it for contact. We can type in the name of the contact we want to use, and we just bring in my name, and we can add in a description. We can also decide to mark as high priority, and when you click on save, that is going to create this task, and it's going to be added as a task. So when I go into my calendar, I will also be able to see the task I have created. As you can see, we have this task created, create contact, and it is contract, and it is due in December 16. So we can also create an event. So an event is like a meeting. So we can decide that we want to create a new meeting, manual meeting, instead of them booking the call. This is the call that I just booked, and as you can see, it is consultation for Emma Glory. And as you can see, it is created via the booking page. But I can decide that I want to manually create a meeting or an event. So I click on new events, and I can say this is a discovery call. This is a discovery call, and this call will be we are going to have this call on the 19th of December, and we're going to be having this call from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We can also decide that this call is going to be, so it can be a call or it can also be an event. But since this is a call, we want it at that same date also. If it is an event, we can also say that maybe we are doing a webinar or we are doing whatever it is we want to do. We can say that it can be from the 10th of December to the 19th of December, or whatever the date of your event is. So this is a call, so I'm just going to leave this as 19, and we can add in as repeat, or we can add in a reminder. We can also add in a location. If it's a physical location, we can add that in. But if it is an online meeting, we can use Zoom meeting, or we can use, if you have any other meeting app that has been added, you can also do that. So you can search for contact, and you can invite contact, multiple contacts into this. So we have this pipeline. Instead of using pipeline, we use contact. So this is related to a particular contact, and we can add in whatever contacts we want to add. We can say it is related to this person, and we can search in participants. So participants, we can add in different participants that we want. So we can add in participants by searching the contact, or we can add in an email. So this is for contact. I want to bring in all of this person or all of these people. So I just need to search for their names. And also I can add in a description. So let's imagine that we also want to invite someone, but they are currently not a contact in Zoho CRM. All we need to do is just to type in the name, I mean the email of the person. So let's say James. James is currently not a contact in Zoho CRM, but we want to invite James to this event. I'm just going to type in James' email in here, and an invite will be sent to james@gmail.com. So we can add in a few description about this. We can also say that we want to add in, instead of adding in um, only contacts, we can also decide to add in participants, I mean users. So we have contact and we have users. We can say that we want to add in different users, and we want them to be on this meeting also. So when you add in that user, that is going to be added. And we also have this place where we can add in the event additional information. When we are done, you click on save, and when you click on save, your event has been scheduled for that particular date. So we also have calls, and for calls, we can be able to manually log a call, or we can set up phone call calling. Um, we can set up phone calling in Zoho Begin. So we can see how Zoho Begin is going to take you through the process um, connecting the call. Since I'm using Zone 1, it is asking me to use Phone Bridge, and it is actually going to incur an extra cost. So I do not need that. So I'm just going to go back, and I can manually log a call if I want. When I want to log a call, I just click on log a call, and it's going to take me to this page where I can log this call. So this call can be to any particular contact I have in Zoho Begin, and we can mark the call start time, and we can also mark in if the call is going to be outbound or inbound. We can also say that the call status will be scheduled, and we can say it is related to a particular company or a particular pipeline that is due. So let's just mark this. And we can say the call purpose is for prospecting, and you can also add in the call agenda if you want, and then you can click on save. And when you click on save, your call is going to be scheduled. So remember that this is just logging a call. It is not going to call directly on your CRM until you connect your phone bridge. So that is for call, and you should be able to see all of the events, all of the call we just added in inside our calendar. So all of the task has been brought in into our calendar. We can also see our calls when we add in calls here, and you can see what you have for each day. So for instance, for today, we have a call scheduled with Daniela. We also have a consultation call with Emma. And if we check in for the week, what we have for the week, we can also see whatever it is we have for the week. And if we check for the month, we can see all of the tasks and events we have for the month. Okay, so I think that is everything we have under activities. And yeah, so if you do have any question on how to set this up, if you're having any issues, you can just leave a comment below and I'm going to respond to your question. Okay, so now that we are done with everything that has to do with the activities, let us go in and see how we can set up workflows in Zoho Begin. So to set up workflows, all you need to do is come into the settings page, and when you come into the settings icon, you are going to see automation under form. Then when you click on automation, you are going to see all of the automation rules that you have. And if you have any stage or automation in Zoho Begin, you can also see that here. And you can also see the Zoho flow actions, which we'll be explaining in a bit. So for your automation rule, when you get in here, you can create a new automation from scratch. So automations just allows you to be able to do tasks automatically. So if you want to send out an email, if you want to create a task automatically without you being able to manually create those tasks, you can set up workflow rules, and those tasks are going to be created based on the criteria that you have set. So for instance, if you have a business and you want to send out welcome email for every time a new lead comes in, you can set up that automation, and it is going to be sent into the lead automatically without you having to send the email manually to those leads when they come in. So that is just the essence of automation. Automation takes all of our repetitive tasks and it helps us make it automatic. So when we want to create a new automation, we click on new workflow, and we can decide what module we are creating this automation for. We can say that I want to create automation for all of this module that we have in here, either for deals, for contacts, for companies, for tasks, or for events. So if we are creating automations for pipeline, you can pick which pipeline you want to create the automation for, whether for sales and pipeline or the new pipeline we just created. But let's create an automation for contacts, and let's name this contact automation. So this is going to be called contact automation, and when we click on next, it is also going to take us to the page where we can edit our automation. You can add in a description here if you want, and type in whatever description you want to put for this automation. And as you can see, the first thing here we have is our trigger, and the second thing we have is the condition, then the next thing is the action. So this is like a sequence of how everything is going to work. So the trigger is just telling us, is just allowing us to know what will have to be done before a contact can come in into this automation. So that means what needs to happen before this contact gets into this automation. We can say that we want the contact to get in on a record action, and that means that when a contact is created, or when a contact is created or edited, or when a contact is edited. So if a contact is edited, we can say if any of those fields are edited, we can bring them into this workflow. Or we can say if specific fields are modified, we can bring them into this workflow. You can also decide that you want to set up this trigger. You can also decide to set up this automation in such a way that if a contact gets into a particular date or time, they are going to be automatically added to this workflow. So we can say we want to check in for the created time for a contact, or we can use the modified time, or we can use the last activity, or we can use the unsubscribe time. So if we're using on a record action, we can say if the contact is created, or we can also say if the contact is created or edited. If you pick this option, you are saying that for every time this contact is edited, the workflow should be triggered. But if you do not pick this option, you are saying that you only want this workflow to be triggered the first time the contact is edited. If you are picking this, you have to be very, very careful, because it is going to create a loop whereby even if you make minor adjustments on your contact, this workflow is going to be triggered. So you can also use the edited. The same thing applies for this. If you pick this workflow, if you pick this workflow, if you pick this workflow, you are saying that if any minor adjustment is made, not only the first time, but every time the minor adjustment is made, the workflow should be triggered. And it is also going to create a loop, so you have to be careful. And let's say we want to check in for specific field. So we can say that if specific fields are edited, like very, very important fields, if they are being edited, like maybe the contact status, or if the lead source are edited, or the amount of a deal is edited, we want to be able to send a notification to someone. So we can also use the record date and time, and we can also say the created date, the modified time, or the last activity time. So we can also say that we want to check in for this contact 90 days after this contact has been created. So that means the date of the execution plus 90 days after the created time. And we can also say that the time of execution should be at a particular time, or should be at the time of the created field. And we can say the repeat should be never, or we can decide to repeat this every month if we want. And when you repeat every month, you are saying that this automation should be triggered at a particular time every month. So let's use record action, which is like the most popular. And when you click on created, you are saying that if a contact is created, then this workflow should be triggered. And when you click on next, it's going to take you to the next stage, which is the condition. And we are saying that what contact would apply for this workflow. So that means for the contact to continue in this workflow, even after they have been created, there are certain conditions that can be set for them to move on to the next action. So we can say that we do not want to set up a criteria for this contact. We just want all of the contacts to go through this workflow. Then we can pick all contacts. But if we want to set up criteria, we can say that we want to check in for if they have their email, or we can check if you can also check for all of the custom fields that are in here, and you can be able to pick whatever custom field you want to base your criteria on. So let's say we want to check for the lead source. Do I have? Yeah. So we want to check for the lead source, and we can say that if the lead source is any of the options that we have, or we can also say that if the lead source contains multiple lead source, so we can say if the lead source is maybe advertisement, or employee referral, or external referral, you can add whatever option it is. And you can also pick the different criteria. You can also check in for the contact owner. So you can say if the contact owner is a particular person. You can also say if they are from a particular country. You can check the created time. You can use all of the custom field you have created. For instance, we want to check in all of those people that have a CRM, or those people who do not have a CRM. And we can even ask them, since we have a question where we are asking them what kind of CRM that they use, we can be able to create this workflow and ask them if they are using HubSpot, or if they are using Zoho CRM, or if they are using Zoho Bigin. Then if they have that option in, we can then be able to trigger this workflow. So the workflow is going to be triggered when the contact is created, but to move on to the next stage, these criteria need to be met. So we can also use all of this fields in here, and just make sure you know what you are creating this workflow for, and be very careful when you are picking your criteria, because it is actually very important. And one thing most people are actually confused about is this middle condition, which is if the CRM is, if you are saying is, that means it is a particular thing. And if you are saying isn't, you are saying that it isn't a particular thing. So if we are saying which CRM software are you using, let's say we want to exempt Pipedrive, then if we say the CRM software isn't Pipedrive, we are saying that we want to include every other CRM apart from Pipedrive into this workflow. And if you are also using content, if you are using content, that means you can put in multiple options into this criteria or the condition. And if you are also saying doesn't contain means that we are also is the same thing as isn't, and doesn't contain means that you can also pick multiple options instead of just picking one option. So doesn't contain can be, maybe we do not want it to contain Pipedrive, Zoho CRM, or HubSpot. So that means every other CRM software apart from those three can be included into this workflow. You can also say that you want to check in for every CRM software that starts with P or that ends with M. You can pick in whatever you want. You can also check in if if the CRM software is empty or if it is not empty. So you can also set this up. So let's say we are using lead source and we want to check in for all of the referrals that we have. So we can say if the lead source is, then we can pick the option. But if we can also use contain actually, but contain is best used when you can be able to if you are using a pick list, which is a multi-pick list, so that means people can be able to pick multiple options. That is when the best time to use contain. But if it is just one option, you can use is, and you can pick the different options that we have. So we can say if the lead source, since the lead source is a single pick list where they can only pick one option, we can say if it is employee referral or external referral, then I think that's the only referral we have. Yeah, so we are checking in for all of the referrals that come in into the organization. And when we are done, we can click on next. And if you also want to add in another criteria, you can do that. You can add in the criteria like the same one for the first one. We can say I want to check for the lead source is this particular referral that we have. And we can also see that we can also check in if their mailing country is a particular country or if their mailing country contains particular countries. So we can say if the mailing country contains Nigeria, then we want to add them into this criteria also. So we are saying if a contact is created and if the lead source is employee referral and the mailing country is Nigeria, then this workflow is going to be triggered and move to the next option. So we can decide to choose and, or we can decide to choose or. If you are picking or, you are saying that one of this condition must be fulfilled before the action is performed. And if you are saying and, you are saying that both of this condition must be fulfilled before they can move to the next action. So when you are done with setting all of the criteria and making sure you have done that, you can then click on next, and when you click on next, it is going to take you to the action stage where you can set in the different actions we currently have in Zoho Begin. So we are saying that if the contact is created and the lead source is any of this and the mailing country is Nigeria, then we can decide to send an email to someone on our team, or we can even decide to send an email to the contact themselves. And we can also decide to update any particular field that we have in Zoho Begin, and we can also decide to assign an owner in Zoho Begin. We can also decide to create a record if we want. We can create a record. We can create a deal. We can create a complaint. We can also create contact if we want. You can also decide to create an activity where you can create a task, you can create an event, and you can also schedule a call. You can also use the Zoho Flow actions where it is going to take you to Zoho Flow, where you can connect with external apps like Active Campaign and all of those apps. You can also add in tags or you can also remove tags. So for the first one, let's see how we can send an email. And when we click on send email is going to take us to this page where we need to name this email. So let's say we want to name it follow-up email. Then we are going to select who is going to be receiving this email. So we can say we want to send this email to the contact owner, or we can say we want to send it to the contact creators manager, or we can even say we want to send it to the particular email of the contact or the contact creator. So since we want to send this email to the particular contact, we just pick on this And also you can send to multiple people at the same time. You can say you want to send to the contact at the same time you want to send to the contact owner. Yes, that can be done. So you can also decide that you also want to pick in um you also want to pick in other records. So instead of using company, you can decide to use the company name, where you can be able to get the company field. So you can decide to send to the company owner also if you want, and you can pick others where you can pick other users in the organization, and you can also be able to add them as the email recipients. And when you are done with that, you can also add in external emails that are currently not in your Zoho CRM. So if you have external emails that you want to include into this workflow and they are currently not in Zoho CRM, you can add them as the additional recipients. And when you are done by adding that, you can then go to the next one where you can add in the email template. And for the email template, you can create a new email template if you want. And when you go over here, you will be able to create a new email template. So we already discussed how to create a new email template, so you might want to go back to see how to do that. So when we go back to our workflow, when we go back to our workflow, then we can pick the particular template that we want to use. When we pick the particular template that we want to use, that has been added. Then we can decide who we are sending this email from. We can decide that we want this email to be sent from the records owner email, or we want it from the workflow triggers email. So whoever is triggering this workflow, that will be the email, that will be the from email. Or we can even decide to pick whatever email that has been added into Zoho Begin. And also you can decide to change in the reply to maybe the record owner email, or change it to whatever email you see in here. And since we want the reply to be the same thing with the from email, we are going to leave it like this, and we are going to click on save. And when you click on save, as you can see, the email action has been saved. So the next action we can do is to update a field. And when we want to update a field, we can decide to update any of the fields that are currently in Zoho Begin. So we can say that if the lead source is any of the referral, and if the mailing country is Nigeria, we want to maybe change the lead status, or we want to change any of the custom fields that we have. So you just name this, whatever you want to name this, and let's just name this update field. And we are doing this for contact. You can also update the field for company. So that means any company that is associated with this contact is going to be updated. So let's pick contact, and we can pick any of this field in here, and we can update this field. So we can say that we want to check in for the lead status, and if they are coming from referral, we want to set the lead status as in progress. So when we update this field, when this workflow is triggered, this field is going to be updated. And when you click on save, that is going to save your update field. Now the next one we have is to assign an owner. And if you want to assign an owner in this particular workflow, you can decide that you want to set the owner for the current record. So you can decide that you want to set the record owner for the current record or for the company. You can decide to change the record owner for the contact or for the company. So you can decide you want to delegate to users, or if you want to delegate to roles. So if you are delegating to roles, you can delegate to the manager, you can delegate to the sales rep, or you can delegate to the production manager, or even the CEO. So it depends on the roles you have added in Zoho Begin. If you do not know how to create roles, please go back to the video on how to create roles. On how to create roles. So since we want to assign to users, we are just going to pick user, and we can pick in any user that we currently have in Zoho Begin. And when you pick that, that has been added. You can also decide that if this user is going to be assigned, we want to notify the users, or we can also decide that we want to notify only the online users, or we want to notify uh, the owner. We want to notify the owner via email. And when you pick this, that means for every time this workflow is triggered, an email is going to be sent to these users to let them know that a contact has been assigned to them. And when you are done, you click on save, and that is how to assign a new owner. So for the new action, we have the send WhatsApp message. And for the send WhatsApp message, we have to connect a business WhatsApp into Zoho Begin. I don't have a business WhatsApp, so I cannot connect my normal WhatsApp to show you. but you can just follow the instruction by Zoho Begin to see how to connect your business WhatsApp. It is actually very simple. And the next one we want to do is to create a record. But before we create a record, let's go to the next one. And for create activities, we can decide that we want to create a task, or we want to create a task or an event, or want to schedule a call. So if we are creating a task, we just need to click on create task, and that is going to take us to this page where we can create a task. As you can see, it has added in a name for us. So we are saying the task is for the record owner first name and the record owner last name. So that means this is going to help us to name our task so we can know who this particular task is for. So that means it is going to pick the first name of the contact that is in this workflow and the last name of the contact in this workflow also, and it's going to put it in the name for the task. So you don't need to start manually putting the name for the task. Zoho Begin is going to automatically add the name into the task name. So you can also decide who is going to be the owner of this task. So you can decide that the contact owner can be the task owner, or you can also decide that another user should be the task owner. So since we are using the contact owner, we are going to leave it that way. And we can also decide for the due date. We can say that we want the due date to be created time plus 90 days, or we can say that we want the modified time plus 90 days if you want. We can also say that we want the due date of this task should be last activities days plus any days that we have in here, or unsubscribe time plus any days you want to include here. So since we want to use the automation trigger date, so that means whenever this automation is triggered, that is when the days are going to start counting. So that means the automation date, that particular date, this automation is being triggered. Plus, you can include plus 10 days, you can include plus 5 days, whatever days work for you. And you can decide that you want to notify the owner of this task that a task has been assigned to them. And you can decide to set a reminder if you want. You can decide that you want the reminder to go a day before due date, and you want them to receive the reminder by 8 a.m. You can also decide to mark as priority if you want, and you can decide to add in a description for the task owner. And you can just say something like, maybe this is a task for you to follow up with the client, or this is a task for you to do blah blah blah. Just put it in the description so that the person knows what this particular task is for. Then when you are done, you are going to click on save. And when you click on save, that has added in our task. Another action we can do is to use the Zoho flow action, which I'm going to come back to. But we can also create tags if you want. You can decide to add tags, or you can decide to remove tags. So when you decide to click on add tags, you can add in whatever tags it is you want to add in here. So we have all of these tags here. And when we try to add in a new tag that is currently not here, so let me just see if I can add in. I'm just going to add in referrals. This is how to spell referrals. Jeez. So I can add in referrals, and I can add in the color for this tag. So I'm just going to add in that color, and I can add in any other tag if I want. So I can just add in this, and when I'm done, I can just click on save, and it is going to ask me if I want to overwrite any of the existing tags for that selected record. So this means that if I pick this, or if I uncheck this, it is not going to overwrite. These tags are not going to overwrite any of the tags that we currently have for this contact. So before this automation is triggered, if there are tags that have been assigned to this contact, it is not going to erase those tags. But if we click on this, we are asking Zoho CRM, Zoho Begin to overwrite these tags. So that means if we pick on this, these tags, the former tags that are currently on the contact will be cleared, and the new ones is going to be added. Then we click on save when we are done, and our tag has been created. Then when we click on new action again, we can then decide that we want to create a record, or we can use the Zoho flow action. So I'm just going to use that as a new action, and I can decide that I want to create a deal, or I want to create a contact. So we can say if we have referrals, we want to be able to create a deal. So we can decide what pipeline we are creating that deal on. Is it for sales pipeline or for the customer support pipeline we just created? And when we click on sales pipeline, it is then going to ask us it is going to take us to this page where we can add in all of the information for the deal. And when we add in the deal owner, we can say the deal owner can be the contact owner. So if we have an existing contact owner, that person is just going to move on to be the deal owner. And for the name of the deal, as you can see, the name has been marked in here, and it is named deal for the contact record name, the first name and the last name. We can also add in a company name if you want. You can just add that in. You can say the current record company name is going to be the company name for the deal, and you can also add in the contact name, and you can say the contact name should be the current record also. And for the sub pipeline, you can add in whatever sub pipeline you have, and you can pick whatever stage it is you want to add for your sub pipeline. And for the amount, you can decide that you want to use a custom value, or you can decide to use any field that you currently have in your contact field. But since we do not have an amount field, we're just going to use a custom value, and we can pick in $1,000 here. So that means for every of this deal that is created, an amount of $1,000 is going to be added until we start communicating the deal. Then we can adjust the amount to whatever we want. Then for the closing date, we can decide that we want the closing date to be the automation trigger date plus maybe 10 days, or plus maybe 15 days, or even 90 days. It depends on how long your sales process takes. So we can say that we want to use 30 days. So it is saying whenever this automation is triggered plus 30 days, that is when should be the closing date for this deal. We can also decide that we want to add in description for this deal. So we can just put in whatever description and say this description, we can say something like this deal was created from a workflow rule, and this deal was created because it was from a referral. Just put in whatever it is you want, and you can add in other other, you can add in other fields if you want. And these are the other custom fields you can add in, like the follow-up notes. Since we do not, it's not lost yet, so we are not adding this. You can also add in the number of employee. So just add in the additional information if you want. It is not compulsory, but you can leave that if you want. And when you click on save, that is going to save, create record. And as you can see, the create record has been created here. Yeah, so something about create record is that if you create one record in an automation, you cannot create a new one. You cannot create a new automation. You cannot create a new record in that particular automation. So you will have to create another automation if you want to create another record. So that means if you have a contact and you want to create company and deals at the same time, you will have to use two different automations for that, or workflow rules. So the last one we have not seen is how to use the Zoho Flow action. And when you click on the Zoho Flow action, you can decide that we want to connect to an external app, not Zoho CRM itself. So we can click on new action, and we can decide that we want to connect to any of this app or any of this software from Zoho CRM. So we can connect to these apps using Zoho Flow. And when we pick in, let's say if we have those referral contacts, we want to take them to our active app campaign account, and we want to add them as a new contact into an automation, then you can click on next, and all you need to do is just to map this. Oh, sorry. All you need to do is to pick the action you want to use. So, do you want to create a deal in Active Campaign also, or do you want to create a contact, or do you want to tag a contact, or do you want to create a campaign? You can do all of these actions. So, whether it is update the contact or update the deal, whatever it is you want to do. So, you can pick whatever action you want to do, maybe add contact, or add or update contact. So when you are done with picking the action, you click on next, and it is going to ask you to pick in a connection. So that means you must have connected Active Campaign into your Zoho Flow account already. But if you have not, then you can click on a new connection, and it is going to ask you for your connection name. So you can just name this Active Campaign, and it is asking us to use this connection to execute. You can decide that you want it to execute all actions, or you can decide to just execute the ones you've added. And when you are done, you can click on authorize, and this should help you. It is going to go back into Zoho Flow, where you can be able to authorize that accounts. So now as you can see, we are currently in Zoho, and it is asking us for the API key for Zoho. It's asking us for the API key for Active Campaign and the account URL for Active Campaign. An active I do not have an active campaign account, so I'm just going to like go back. So if you have this, you can just look for the API key and look for the account URL. Then you can authorize this, and Zoho is going to help you connect to active campaign from Zoho CRM. So when you are done with all of this, it is going to help you connect between both apps. Then we are going to go back to our workflow. So I'm just going to click on cancel. And when I click on cancel, it is going to discard this. So that is for Zoho action. So that is all for all of the actions we have in here. We can also click on schedule action. So that means if you do not want instant action, you can also schedule your action. So that means this is going to be triggered immediately after this condition is met. But we can schedule this action also and say that we want to wait for 5 days or we want to wait for 1 hour before this automation is triggered or before this action is done. So we can say we want to wait for 1 day, let's say one. After the workflow is triggered, then when you click on next, you can then be able to perform whatever action it is you want to perform. You can decide to send an email, you can decide to update the field like we've done here, but it is going to be a scheduled action. So we can say we want to send in an email a day after, and we want to name the email follow up also. And we can add in the email recipient if we want, and you can also decide to add in additional recipients, and we can pick in whatever templates we have, and you click on save. And when you click on save, this is going to add in a new action for you, a scheduled action. So let's say you want to create a sequence whereby a new contact is coming in and you want to set up a follow-up sequence. You can decide that the first email is sent immediately, then you can then decide that the next email should be sent a day after. You can also create a new schedule action and say that you want to send the next email 3 days after the workflow is triggered. The person is going to receive the next email. And you can also say that you can also create other actions if you want. Maybe you want to create a task after 3 days, or you want to create a Zoho action or assign an owner or update a field. You can do all of this in the scheduled action. So let me just cancel this, yes, remove, and then I can click on save. So a quick recap of how this workflow works. So a quick recap of how the workflow works. So when you go to trigger is just allowing us to see how the contact is going to come in into this automation. What is going to trigger this contact for them to enter into this automation? What needs to be triggered is that a contact just needs to be created. So when a contact is created and their lead source is any of this and they are from Nigeria, then all of this instant action will be done instantly. That means immediately after this workflow condition is met. And if the condition is not met but the contact is created, they will not move on to the action. So please note that. So if you create the contact, if you create so if the contact is created but the conditions are not met, they are not going to be moving on to the instant action or even the scheduled action. Okay, so it is until the condition is met, then that is when they can move on to the action. And also we have the scheduled action, which you can schedule for in the future. You can also add in new action here, and you can add in an entirely scheduled action in here. So that means if you're adding new action here, you're saying that even at the same day of 1 day after, you can add in a new action. So when you're done with all of this, you want to click on save, and when you click on save, as you can see, your workflow has been created. So now that means every contact that is created and enters into this automation and they fulfill the criteria, those are going to be fulfilled for them. So the next thing we want to see is also the stage automation. So for stage automation, this just allows us to be able to trigger or to be able to set up to be able to set up automations for our pipeline stages. So we have different stages in our pipeline, then we can decide to set up automations for all of those stages. So we can say that, for instance, we can set up for a team pipeline. So if we have a team pipeline already, like our sales pipeline, we can then choose a sub pipeline for this. And we can say that if any of our contact is going into the qualification stage, we want to set up an automation for this. So you can say that when anybody comes to that stage, we want to update a field, or we want to assign an owner, or you want to create an activity. Just do whatever works for you. So let's say we want to assign an owner, then we just pick the user we want to use and we click on save. And you can also add in a new option, a new action, sorry. You can add in a new action, and you can say that you also want to create an activity, or you can want to pick whatever other action, whatever action you can add in here. You can also decide that even if they're in the qualification stage, we want to add in a criteria. So we can say that we want to add in if their budget is greater than or equals to $1,000. So we are only assigning the owner to Emma if the amount of the deal is more than 1,000. So for any amount that is below $1,000, these deals are not going to be assigned to Emma Era. So when you are done, you click on save, and when you click on save, that is going to create your stage automation. So it is actually very simple. All you need to do is just to know what stage you are creating the automation for and what action needs to be done in that automation. So that is how to do the stage automation. And for Zoho Flow actions, it is the same thing as the one I showed you. If you want to create a new action, you just need to pick whatever app you want to connect to. And whatever app you want to connect to, you have to make sure that you have access to that app. If you want to connect to Active Campaign, you have to make sure that you have access to Active Campaign so you can get the API key and so you can get the account URL. You can also connect to any Zoho app. So when you just type in search application and you type in Zoho, you can see all of the Zoho apps that are currently in here, which you can connect to. So let's say we want to connect to Zoho Begins, or we want to, we're in Zoho Begin, we want to connect to Zoho CRM. So we can click on Zoho CRM here. And when you click on Zoho CRM, you can see all of the actions that are in here, and you can click on next. And when you click on next, you can be able to add in this action. So let's say if they are referrals and we want to bring them into Zoho CRM from Zoho Begin, then we can update that particular contact in Zoho CRM. So we can say we want to create or update contact, then we click on next. And when you click on next, it is going to ask for the connection. So if there is no connection between Zoho Begin and Zoho CRM currently, you need to add in a new connection. And you can decide to add in to execute for all of these, or you can just pick whatever actions you want to do. So let's name this Zoho CRM, and let's say I want to perform all of the actions in my connection, and I click on authorize, and this is going to take me to Zoho Flow, where I can be able to connect my Zoho CRM account. So when I click on connect, it is going to ask me the particular account I want to connect to Zoho Begin. So I can decide that I want to use my Glory Words account or my other account if I want. So I want to use Glory Words, and I'm just going to click on submit. And as you can see, it is asking me all of those questions to make sure that I really want to connect with this. And it is saying that it's going to have access to all of these things. So if you are good with whatever it's going to have access with, you can click on I allow, and you can click on accept, but you can reject it if you want, but it is not going to be connected. So as you can see, my connection has been done, and when I click on next, I can then be able to add in an action name, and let's say I want to add this as Zoho CRM, and I can then say I want to do this for my contacts, and I want to say something like create and update contacts. Then when you are done with this, you click on next, and when you click on next, and as you can see, it is actually bringing my Zoho Flow connection into Zoho CRM. So this will actually help me to connect between two apps, and I do not need to leave Zoho Begin. So I'm just going to add in my last name, and I'm just going to bring in the last name from here. So we can drag in this last name. Where's last name? First name. So last name is here. We can then bring this in. So we can click on this. So we've clicked on last name and it's imported last name here. So for first name, we just need to click on first name here. Okay, so the first name has been added. Then we can also add in the full name in here. So let's look for full name, and that should be contact name. Then we add that in, and the email is very important also, so we add in the email. So now this is going to help us create this contact in Zoho CRM. So when you are done, you click on done, and that is going to be updated. So as you can see, this connection has been created for Zoho Flow Actions, and whenever we create an automation, we can then add in this Zoho Flow action. So you can create multiple actions between multiple apps, and all you need to do is just to connect both of them, and then you can bring them into the automation room. So that is everything we have about Zoho CRM automation. And in the next lesson, we'll be seeing how to create dashboards and reports in Zoho Begin. The next thing we want to check out in Zoho Begin is the dashboards. And dashboard is where Zoho Begin allows us to see what exactly is happening in our business. We can see what is happening with the deals. We can see what is happening with our contacts. We can also see what is happening with the different modules that we have in Zoho Begin. We can even see what is going on with our tasks and our activities, and we can see how each of the users are responding to each task and activities in Zoho Begin. So a dashboard in Zoho Begin is just a visual representation or a visual summary of all your data in Zoho Begin. So it allows you to include rows, it allows you to include columns, it also allows you to show your chart, your graph, whatever it is you want to add, you can add it in your Zoho Begin dashboard. So the dashboard just allows us to be able to see whatever is going on in our business. And like I said, you can create dashboard for the different modules that we currently have in Zoho Begin. As you can see, these are the dashboards that have been created by Zoho Begin itself. And we have the deal dashboard, we have the tasks, we have the events, and we have all of this. We can also decide to create a new dashboard if we want, and we can also pick whatever dashboard have been created by Zoho Begin, and we can customize that dashboard ourselves. So for instance, we can edit each widget in this dashboard, and we can edit the particular widget, or we can delete it, or we can even clone it, or we can print the widget. And also we can add in new components into this dashboard, and as you can see, this is our deal dashboard, and all of this widget has been added by Zoho Begin. And we have the open deals for this month, we have the deal one for this month, we have the deal loss for this month, the revenue one for this month, and we have the open deals by stage, we have the monthly revenue by users, and all of this can be tracked in your dashboard. So to create a new component, all you need to do is just to click on new component. So as you can see, when you click on the new components, you can see the different component that we have, and we have the KPI component, which allows us to be able to show only one number. And for instance, we can see the revenue for the month, we can see for the revenue for maybe last month, or the revenue for this year. So KPI just help us to show one number, like the number of those one, the number of open deals, and KPI just represents one important number. So the chart widgets help us to show data that have been broken down visually. So you can check maybe through a bar chart, or you can check through a line chart, or you can check through a donut chart or a pie chart. Whatever chart you want to use can be done by using the chart widget. For example, we can say that we want to see all of our deals by stage, and we can create a funnel chart to be able to show how many deals we currently have in each stages of our pipeline. We can also say that we want to use a pie chart where we can be able to see the different deals in various industries in our business. And if we're using the column chart, we can also see the column chart or the bar chart. We can say we want to see all the deals that are owned by the different users, in our organization, and that is for chat. And the last component, which is the target meter allows us to be able to compare our current performance to a goal. So let's say for instance, we want to create a deal target for this year, and the deal target we are planning to check in all our deal closed one deal should be $1 million for the year. Then the deal target allows us to be able to create a deal gauge where we can see where we currently are to our 1 million goal. So we can also check in things like the monthly revenue goal, the quarterly sales targets, the number of deals to close before the year runs out. And also remember that KPI shows the number, while chart is going to help us show the breakdown, and target meter is going to show our progress to a goal. Let's try to create a new dashboard and let's see how that is going to look like. So here we are going to click on new dashboard here, and we can create this dashboard and we can name this dashboard. So I'm just going to name this dashboard general dashboard, as we'll be bringing different things into this dashboard. And you can also decide who you want to see this dashboard. You can say only you can see this dashboard, or you can say you want all the users in your organization to see this dashboard. You can also select custom users to go into this dashboard and say you only want to select some users to go into this dashboard. So when you click on custom, you can be able to pick the users you want to add to this dashboard, or you can just pick all users if you want. So I'm just going to pick all users for this. So that has been added in. And what this means is that if I create this dashboard, all users in my organization can be able to view this dashboard. It is very important to know that if you are creating dashboard that have to do with sensitive information, you have to make sure you share that with only the people in the top level of hierarchy in your business. For instance, you are creating financial reports like the deals one, the money end, and the revenue that came in into the business. Those kind of reports might not be general reports, and you want to make sure that you limit the visibility of that report to only those in the top hierarchy of your business. So now we have the general dashboard as the name, and when we want to add in a component, we can just click on add component, and we can add in whatever components we want to add. So let's say, for instance, we want to add in a KPI, and for the KPI, we want to see all of our revenue that came this month, or we want to see the deals that was created this month, or whatever it is you want to see. You can just pick the different KPI that we have. And as you can see, we have different designs of KPI style. Why this is the first one, the standard one, allows us to be able to see a particular report in comparison to the last month's report or the previous period. So let's say we are checking revenue for this year. We can be able to check the revenue for this year and compare to the revenue of last year. The same thing applies for this. We can be able to check in the revenue, and we can see the increase in percentage or the decrease in percentage, so which is the growth index. And we have the basic one where we it does not compare, it does not do anything. It just show us the number of the particular thing we are measuring. So for instance, we can see the total contact that came in into our Zoho Begin account, and the basic just show us the number without the increase, without the growth index or whatever it is. And we have this one where we can be able to compare the different modules. We can say we want to check in the different deal that was created per industry, and we can see if there was a growth or if there was a decrease to the number of deals that was created last year. And also you can see the ranking, where we can be able to check in for the top deal owners, or for the contact owners, or maybe the users that have the most won deals. You can be able to use ranking for that. So ranking just allows us to be able to see who has a higher number of deals, or higher number of contacts, or higher number of closed deals, and you can be able to create a ranking for that. So I am going to pick in the standard KPI, and I am going to say I want to check in for the all contacts that came in this year, and we want to see how there is if there is an increase or if there is a decrease with the contact that came in this year compared to the one for last year. So let's name this component, and we can name this this year contact. So let's just name that. So we are naming this widget this year contact, and we are adding a particular module, and we are adding the contact module. If you want to add a related module, you can also add that in. But since we are only checking for contacts, we are not going to add in a related module. And the next thing is the KPI metric. That means we are checking for the count of contacts, or you can check for the count, the sum of the contact score, or the average of the contact score, or the average of the number of employees, or whatever numbers you have in your custom fields in Zoho Begin. So we are checking for the number of contacts. We are going to pick count of contacts, And we can also add in a filter if you want. You can decide that you only want to check the contact that came in from Nigeria, or you want to check in the contact that came in from USA, or whichever country you want to pick in. You can also create a filter for that. And not only countries, you can decide to use your custom fields also. For instance, we can say we want to check in for only the contact that are using HubSpot, or only the contact that are using Zoho CRM, and you can just pick whatever filter you have currently in here. As you can see, we have different filters, and we can say we want to check in for contacts that are in a particular industry. All you need to do is just to pick the particular industry you want to add to this report. But since we do not want to include, since we want to check in for the total number of contacts that came in this year, we are not going to be adding any criteria, and we are going to remove this. Then the next thing is the duration, where we can be able to check the particular duration we are creating this report for. So we can say we want to check in for the contact that was created this year, or we want to check in if the contact was modified this year, or if the contact was modified this week, or unsubscribed this year. Just choose whatever you think is going to work for the particular report you are creating. Since we are creating a report, and we are checking in for contacts that are coming in this year, we are just going to use the created time is this year. If you are doing for this month, all you need to just do is to pick this month, and you can also pick a custom date if you want. You can say you want to check in for, maybe you did a webinar, and after the webinar you want to see if there was an increase or a decrease in your contact. You can pick the date the webinar started, then up until today. But if you want to use the normal time, you can say the created time is this year. And since we are checking for this year contacts, we are going to pick this option. And we can then be able to decide if we want to compare to the previous period. So that means we are comparing this year to last year, or we can say we want to compare to the previous period relative. So the previous period relative, it's kind of weird, but I will try my best to explain it. So the previous period relative just means that if this report is created in June of 2025, it is only going to compare to the last year, to the previous year, June last year. It is not going to compare to the whole of last year, but up until June of last year. So that means if we are creating this report and we are checking it for the contact of this year, we can decide that we want to, if this report is in June, we can then decide that from January to June of 2025 should be compared to January to June 2024. So it is not going to be compared to the whole of the whole of 2024, but only to the particular time that you are currently in. I hope that's not confusing. So let me use my calendar to explain this. Okay, so this is my calendar. I want to try to explain the previous relative. So now let's say we have a report and we are in July, and we are checking in our report, and we are checking in for the total of the contact that came in from January to July. So if we're using the relative, we are saying that we are only going to compare January to July 2025 to January to July 2024. So instead of using the previous period, which is going to compare to the whole of January 2024, we are only going to use the relative. The relative means just to compare with what is currently going on. So we can say if we are using relative from January to February, or whatever it is, the particular time that you are currently on in the report, that you are checking that report. If you are checking that report in February, if the date is February, or if you're checking that report in August, is only going to compare to the previous period of that particular time that you are in, not the whole of the previous period. Oh my god, I hope that's not confusing. Okay, so that is how to check the relative. And when you are done, we want to go back to our Zoho Begin. And since we are using the previous period, let's use the relatives to see how that works. And if you pick relative, it is only going to check for the particular period we have relative to last year. So we can consider an increase in value as positive. We can also say that if there is an increase in value, it should be considered as negative. And this is going to work if there is if there is an increase in deal loss or close loss. All of those increase can be considered as negative. Or if there's an increase in unsubscribed contacts, that is definitely a negative. So when you are done with all of this, you want to consider an increase as positive, and then you click on save. When you click on save, that is going to save your widget. And as you can see, this has been saved and it is comparing to last year. And you can see that we have an increase of 165%. And last year, by this time last year, we had 20 contacts, but now we have 53 contacts, and that is an increase. And we can also add in another type of KPI if you want. And let's say we want to add in maybe the top deal owners, or want to check in for the top industries that we have. So let's say we want to create this for contacts, and we want to check in for a related module. So you can add in whatever related module you want to add in if you want. But let's say we want to check in the duration should be created time is this year, and we can say that we want to rank this by a particular um field that we have in Zoho Bigin. So let's say we want to use the lead status for instance, and instead of using you can also use lead source, you can also use whatever it is you want to have, but just make sure that that thing have the various options like this. And let's say we are using the lead status and want to compare the top 5, or you can say you want to compare the top 20, or maybe the bottom 20, whatever it is you want to compare. And let's say we want to compare the top 10. I don't think we have up to 10, but let's just add 10. So we can say that the created time is this year, and we want to compare to the previous period instead of the relative, and we are considering an increase to be positive. Okay, so let me explain this. So that means we are checking for the count of contact that is created this year, and we want to compare to the previous period, and an increase is going to be positive. And we are also going to rank this by the lead status, and we are checking for the top 10 lead status. I hope that's clear enough. And let's just add this, and let's say contacts by lead status, and this is going to create a comparison chart where we can be able to see our contacts by the lead status. So when you are done, you just click on save, and when you click on save, that is going to save this widget um into our dashboard. And as you can see, we have the different lead status in Zoho Begin. We have the open, and we can see that we have the none, where none of our contacts have lead status, and we have 33 of them. And you can see compared to last year, that was an increase of 65%. And the people in open lead status, we have 100%. That means none of our contacts were in open status last year. So that is why it is an 100% increase. So now we can also add in another component, and let's see if we can add in another type of KPI. So let's say we want to check in for the increase, the percentage increase. Let's say we want to check in for the percentage increase of the deals that was created this year and last year. So let's say the revenue that came in from deals this year compared to last year. So we can say revenue from deals. Then we can pick a custom model, and instead of using contact, we are going to be picking pipeline, which is also deals. And you can say we want to check in deals from sales pipeline, and we can say we want to use the count of deals if you want, and the count of deals is just the number of deals that was created this year compared to last year. If you are using sum of amount, you are saying that you want to calculate the amount that came in from the deals this year compared to last year. You can also add in a criteria if you want for your deals, and you can also add in a duration. And let's say we want to see the created time of the deal should be this year. So if the created time of the deal is this year, that means every of the deals that was created this year, we are tracking all of those deals. And we can say we want to compare to the current period, or the previous period, or the previous period relative. Or you can use the same period as last year if you want, or you can use custom if you want. So we are using the previous period, and we are considering an increase to be positive, because if there is an increase from the revenue from deals, it is definitely a positive thing. So when we are done, we click on save, and when you click on save, that is going to add your increase. And as you can see, as at last year, we had 550. As at last year, we have $550 in deals, but this year we are having 1,604 in deals, and that is showing a 191.6%. and that is for an increase in revenue. So let's move on to the next KPI, which is chat. Chat just allows us to be able to see our data in a breakdown, maybe the bar chart, or we have the donut chart, the pie chart, whatever it is you want to add. So let's pick the most popular one that we have. People use bar chart a lot, and or the column chart a lot. So let's use the column chart, and we can use the column chart and say we want to check in the contact based on the various industry that we have. So we can say the component name is contact by industry, and we are selecting a module and we are selecting contact, and we can pick a related module if you want. And you can also say that for the y-axis we want to check in for the count of contact, and we are grouping these by the y. This is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. So for the x-axis, which is the grouping, we can say that we want to check in for the industry. So we are checking in for everyone that is in a particular industry, and you can see more options here where you can be able to sort by maybe value ascending or descending. You can see the maximum grouping is 75 if there is more groupings in your Zoho Begin for that particular field. And you can also say that you want to add in a benchmark for y-axis, which is this. You can say you want to add in a benchmark for maybe 10 or whatever it is you want to add. I do not need that, so I'm going to take that off. And remember that you can also add in a criteria, and you can say that you only want to check people from Nigeria, or you want to only check people that are using HubSpot, or whatever it is you want to add in as the criteria. Then you click on save. And now that you have clicked on save, it is going to create a bar chart with the various contacts that are in various industries. As you can see, we have none for the we have none, and we have 42 in none. And for the consulting industry, we have 7. For the real estate industry, we have 6. So this is for our contacts by industry. And this is a column chart. We can also do the same thing if we are using a pie chart. And a pie chart is just going to allow us to be able to view what we just did in a pie. So we can also say that I want to check in for contacts by industry, but we want it in a pie chart. So let's just add in the name, and we are selecting contact, and we are selecting the count of contacts, and we are going to say the grouping should be industry. And when you pick in industry, you can also add in the filter, and you can also add in the options, the other options if you want. And then you click on save, and that is going to save your, oh yeah, it exists. So I'm just going to say 2. And when you click on save, that is going to save your components, and this exact thing is brought in here as a pie chart. So let's also check in how to create a heat map or an heat map in Zoho Begin. So the heat map just allows us to be able to compare two data at the same time. So for instance, we can say we want to check in the contact that came in into our Zoho Begin, and we also want to check in the tags that was created for all of this contact. So we can say maybe contact by tags, or add in whatever name you want to add. And we can select the module we want to add this for. So let's say contact, and we can also pick task if you want. And the measure, the first measure will be the count of contacts. So we are checking for the count of contacts, and we can say for the first grouping, we want to check in the number of contacts that was created this year. So that means we can say created contact by this year, and that is going to add that for the first grouping. And for the second grouping, we can check in for the created task for this year. So we are going to go into task. Where is task? Yeah, we have the created time for the task, and you can pick in whatever condition you want, maybe year, month, whatever it is. You can also add in a filter if you want, and you can add in the more options. And when you click on save, this is going to help us to group the contacts by task. As you can see, we have 20 contacts created by last year, and there was no task created. But this year we add 50 contacts, and as you can see, we have four tasks that was created this year. So it is just to compare multiple records together. And you can also add in the target meter. Like I said, the target meter just allows us to be able to create a target for the company. So we can say first quarter of the year we want to meet our sales target, and we want to make $100,000 revenue. But if we create this sales meter, it will allow us to be able to gauge wherever we are in that goal, in meeting that goal. So for instance, we can pick the first one, and this will allow us to be able to add in various criteria like checking the deal target or the deal gauge for contact or for deal. So let's say we want to check in for contact. So let's just pick in contact, and we are setting this target for the entire organization, and we are picking the module, and we are using contact, and we can still want to also add in a related module if we want, but we are not going to add that. We are going to say that we want to check in for the count of contact that was created this year. So the created time will be this year, and the target we are trying to meet is 100. We can be able to see where we currently are by using this dial gauge. So when you click on save, this is going to save the dial gauge, and you can see that we are currently in 53 contacts. So that means 53% of our target has been reached, and we have 47% to go. You can also create deal targets also. So for instance, let's add in a component, and let's say we want to check in for deal this time around. And you can also check in deals and just pick in the same thing, but we are using this for deals. So let's say deals, and we are setting the target for the entire organization, and we are setting the pipeline for, we're setting the deals, and we're using the sales pipeline, and the target metric should not be the count of deals but should be the sum of the deals. Remember that sum of the deals is going to be the amount, and you can also pick a duration if you want. You can say the created time is this year or whatever it is you want to use. And you can also say that we are trying to meet a target of, maybe we're trying to meet a target of $3,000 for this year. And if we click on save, that is going to save this widget. And as you can see, even though we are going all onto $3,000 for this year, we are currently at 1,604, 1,604, and 53%, 53% of our deal has been, of our target has been achieved. But we still have, like, how many percent? So we still have 1,396 to achieve for us to get to our deal target. So the traffic light is also like the same thing, but you just add in this simple design. And we can also see this, instead of using this gauge, you can also use the single bar, where it just allows you to create a bar where you can see the target and what has been done. So you can also see the region wise. Maybe if you can check in for different the different countries or the different states or the different city, and see what revenue has been won from companies from that city. So when you pick on this, you can pick in the name, and let's setting the targets for specific users or specific roles, or we can even use pick list value. So let's say we want to check in for contact, and we want to check in for the particular, let's say we want to check in for the lead source. That's a very good example. So we can pick in for the various lead source that we have, and we can see what gauge can be created for each of them. So let's say I want to use all of these. Let's just trade show web. Yeah. Okay. So we can only pick 10. So that has been picked. And remember that we are creating this for contact, and we can add in a related module. And the target metric should be the count of the contacts, obviously. And we can set the duration time to be this year. So the created time is going to be this year. And we can say there is a common target for each of them, or there is an individual target. So let me explain this. So this means that we can be able to create a report, and we can say we are checking in for a particular pick list value for the contact. You can also pick for the deal. For example, you can check for the different stages of the deals. You can check for the different lead source of the contact. You can check for the lead status of the contact. Just pick whatever pick list view works for you, or that you want to create this for. And as you can see, I picked for contact, and it is showing all of these for my pick list for the contact. You can also pick industry as the pick list value, and you can then say that you want to select all of these lead sources to be added to this report. And we are creating this report for contacts. Remember, you can also add in the related module if you want. And we are using the count of contacts in here. And you can also add in a criteria filter if you want. And we're checking in for the created time is this year, and we can decide to use a common target or we can decide to use an individual target. So the difference between the common target and the individual target is that if we're using a common target, we can say that we want everyone's target to be 1,000. Or we can say, you know what, we want to use the individual target and we can set the different targets for each of them. So we can say for people for our advertisements, if the lead source is advertisement, we want our target to be 1,000. But if we're using code call, we want it to be a little bit higher than that. So we can say 2,000. You can just add in whatever target you want for each of these. But if you're using a common target, you can just say, you know what, we want all of this pick list value should be 1,000 or should be 100 or whatever works for you. And then when you are done with that, you can click on save. Before we click on save, we need to add in your component name. So let's say contact by industry. You can add in contact by industry, and when you're done, you click on save, and that is going to save. Oh yeah, let's say target. So we click on save, and when you click on save, that is going to add in that particular report. And as you can see here, we have all of this, and our target is 100. Okay, as you can see, we achieved 0 from some ones, and we got 1. For instance, for code call, we got 1. For trade show, we also got 1. So you can be able to see all of this, and you can be able to see your target and what you have achieved. Yeah, so for time's sake, we cannot be able to see the other target meter, but I would like you to take a look at it yourself and just see how everything works. I promise you, it is very simple to set all of this up. So when you are done with everything, do not forget to click on save. And you can also decide that you want to view your dashboard in full screen, and you can be able to see all of your dashboard in this full screen. So you can click on escape to escape that. And also when we go into the new dashboard we just created, where is it? General dashboard. It is going to be under the created by me, and you can see your general dashboard, and you can also decide to edit it, and you can edit each of these yourself. You can expand it, you can drag it, just expand this if you want. You can rearrange this, you can reorder it however you want. You can drag in all of this module and just rearrange and just drag. Yeah, just keep dragging. Okay, so that is for that. And when you add in all of the modules you want to add, or sorry, when you add in all of the reports you want to add, make sure you click on save so you can make sure that all of these has been saved in Zoho Bigin. If you make all of these adjustments and you do not click on save, this data is not going to be saved in Zoho Bigin. So let's click on save, and all of our components has been saved in Zoho Bigin. So that is how to create dashboards in Zoho Bigin. If you've watched this video up until this end, I want to say thank you very much for following through the process. And also I am very sure you are now confident on how to use Zoho Bigin. If you have any questions you would like to ask us, you can ask in the comments below, or you can send us an email at CRMInstructors101@gmail.com. Also remember that if your Zoho Bigin account is not set up properly, your business will also be affected. And that is why we have paid consultation, which we are going to help you to figure out how your business works and how you can use Zoho Bigin properly in your business. If you are not using Zoho Bigin optimally and you are only using 10% of Zoho Bigin, that is actually a waste of money. So you can book your paid consultation below and we can get started with your business. And also, if you feel that there are some parts in your Zoho Bigin that is not working properly and you are quite unsure of what is going on in your Zoho Bigin account, we can help you with a comprehensive audit to look at what is currently working in your Zoho Bigin account and what is also not working, and how you can also fix all of those things that are not working. And remember, like I said, if your Zoho Bigin is not optimized, if there are errors in your Zoho Bigin, your business will be greatly affected. So you can book your audit in the link in the description below. And also do not forget to like this video and also share this video to everyone you think might need this video, because it is going to go a long way in helping us in this channel. Thank you so much guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.